into the right field corner. That is Homer. A home run. Line base hit left field. Salvi has 2 more hits tonight. He has 2 RBIs and adds to those great doubleheader numbers. And the Royals lead 7-5.
Not an easy spot on the floor to try to inbound it from, Mike.
SGA has it. There's about a 9-second difference, shot clock and game clock. Gildas Alexander spins, pulls up, jumper. Off the mark, won't go. Rebound, Neesmith. The Pacers with a chance to win it. Final seconds, no fouls to give. Halliburton looking. Halliburton driving, pulls up, jump shot. It's good! It's good! With 0.3 of a second remaining. Timeout, OKC. Tyrese Halliburton does it again. Their first lead of the game.
He typically reserves the bangs for the three-pointers, but I really felt like that Halliburton shot deserved a bang! Bang! Maybe a couple bangs. Man, what a finish. There was some drama yesterday in sports, man. We had that ending in Oklahoma City. We had the other ending in Oklahoma City with Texas and Texas Tech, 2 teams attempting a comeback. One gets it done, the Pacers. The other, the Texas Longhorns, do not get it done. Patrick Mahomes in attendance. You know they're not losing, with that being the case. Game 3 of the College World Series tonight. They're in Oklahoma City. Game 1 of the NBA Finals goes to the Indiana Pacers, doing what they have been doing this entire postseason run. It is one of the most improbable runs. Not that the 4 seed is playing in the NBA Finals, just how they have managed to win some of these games on the road in historic comeback fashion and rewriting record books. Like, how many times have we said something around the Pacers being, teams are 1 in 5,722 when this is going on. And the Pacers made it 2. Teams are 0 in 730, and the Pacers have now made it 1. Like, it feels like 3 or 4 different times we've had these crazy stats around the Pacers so far in this postseason, and Tyrese Halliburton is gaining a reputation of being one of the most clutch players in the NBA. This man in the postseason, when taking a shot to tie or take the lead in the final minute and a half, fourth quarter of overtime, is 6 for 7. He's 12 of 13 on the season in those. Playoffs alone, he's 6 for 7. This guy has gone scorched earth since they said he was overrated. This guy had that Patrick Mahomes Bleep You 2022 tour when it was Mahomes is going to be discovered, Mahomes is going to be shown to be a fraud because Tyreek Hill is not there anymore. Somebody's going to get exposed. Remember the Keenan Allen tweet? Still has never explained who, quote, somebody is. Somebody's about to get exposed. Neither got exposed because Tyreek Hill went and had almost 2,000 yards receiving, bunch of touchdowns.
It was Brandon Staley. That's what he's talking
That's
about.
who it was. That makes sense.
He wanted Harbaugh before anyone else. You got to give it to him.
100% makes sense. He didn't want to be there with Harbaugh. He wanted to be somewhere. He was going to be, I'm going to be in Chicago when Harbaugh gets here, damn it.
This analytical guy is just a doofus. Get him out of here. He's going to do something like give up a 28-point lead in the playoffs.
A big dumbhead. That's what this guy is, man. Mahomes goes and wins an MVP and a Super Bowl after back-to-back Super Bowls, but wins an MVP, kind of a Bleep You tour. And Tyrese Halliburton, we'll see what happens in the final however many games of this NBA Finals. But, I had mentioned that I thought Oklahoma City would win this thing in 5, hopefully 6. Not necessarily hopefully that OKC would win it, but that it would go 6 games and give us a series. And what happened last night was the Pacers gave us a series. And I also think early on, it can continue the disrespect to the Pacers in that, well, the Pacers won, thank goodness. Now we got a series. Now it might go 6 games with Oklahoma City winning. It's just been this continual theme with Indiana along the way that even in a win, it's like, oh, good, they won the game. We might get more drama on the way to Oklahoma City hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. We'll see what happens in these final, what could be 6 games? I don't know. What could be 3 more games? Who knows? You know, they went to New York and they jumped out 2-0 with a crazy comeback and a Halliburton shot. And yet another one for the Indiana Pacers last night. Some great drama. The Royals split the doubleheader with the St. Louis Cardinals, but they take the series. That is very important that they took the series because they have struggled in the last year and a half, last year and this year in rubber match games, in series tied 1-1, and they have an opportunity to win that series. They have struggled in those games. And they go last night, they take an early lead, 5-1. Cole Reagan's on the mound, struggling in the first, and then he gives up 4 more runs. It's 5-5. He leaves the game after 3, and it turns into a bullpen game the rest of the way with Schreiber, Lynch, and Clark already used. Urseg on the IL. Harvey transferred to the 60-day IL, which I don't think is that big of a deal because the 60-day IL comes up in like 5 days. So, he would be out for 60 days in like 5 days from now. So it's not to where he's transferred to the 60-day IL, so now he's going to be out for the year. It's not 60 days from today. You know what I mean? Like, so he's out. Urseg is out. And now you've got to go to a bullpen without Schreiber, Clark, and Lynch. And Estevez already pitched earlier in the day, too. So is he going to be available? He was, and gets the save. Oddly enough, gets the loss and the save in the same day. But the Royals split the doubleheader. They take the series from the Cardinals, which first and foremost is crucial from that perspective. 913-912-4810. Let's get into the show. Here's how it lines up today. Matt Derrick will be our guest coming up an hour from now. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. We'll get his thoughts on, we're gonna cover a lot of different ground with Matt Derrick. He's gonna hang with us for a couple of hours until 1 o'clock. So we'll get into OTAs a little bit. We'll get into some things that were said by the Chiefs. Yeah, that's right. He deserves a round of applause for spending an extra hour with us. You got to hang out with me for another hour. That deserves a round of applause, a pat on the back, a tip of the cap, just an overall hazard pay, we should say. Maybe some hazard pay to Matt Derrick for having to hang out for an extra hour with me. I appreciate him doing that. But there's a lot of ground to cover with Matt today. Obviously, the OTA stuff. We did not get into last week Roger Goodell and his comments on the, quote, integrity of the salary cap. When that CBA comes up, there might be some massive changes to the salary cap. We'll find out. We were so much enamored with the tush-push and NFL players playing flag football that commentary from Roger Goodell in his media availability talking about the integrity of the salary cap and the, quote, dummy years that are tacked onto contracts, I think have some big implications for how teams structure contracts moving forward. So there have been some teams that have been the extreme. The Saints have played the void year game for a long time. The Eagles are a big part of the void game or void year game as well. The Chiefs, not so much. The Chiefs have broached that now twice. They added a void year to Chris Jones when he was sitting out. Then they obviously gave him the extension and everything, so he's got a long-term deal. And they've got a void year on Patrick Mahomes' contract. They had never gone down the route of void years before. They've done it a couple of times in the last few years, but not to the extreme of some teams that have like 20 different players on their team this year that have void years attached to their contract in some way, shape, or form. And Roger Goodell wants to address this, which could change the way that we look at the salary cap, which can change the way that we say, okay, are we still going to have 5 years to disperse this signing bonus? Are they still going to approach it that way? Are we going to allow a team to give a man $50 million signing bonus and have $10 million evenly dispersed over 5 years to the cap? Or is Roger Goodell going to say, no, $50 million is a cap hit that year? There is zero chance the NFLPA will go for that. Because there's zero chance teams are going to give somebody $50 million cap hit that year. It just is not tenable. It makes it so much more of a hard cap. And the NFL has a salary cap, but they don't have they have a hard ceiling. They don't have the aprons like the NBA, the luxury tax like Major League Baseball. They don't have those, but they do have ways to manipulate the cap for any one or two players. If you need to get under the cap, you can add some void years, change a roster bonus to a signing bonus like Patrick Mahomes, and evenly disperse that over 5 years, that year included, to lower a cap number for somebody. Well, what's the future going to be with that? Roger Goodell, I think, is setting the table for what could be a battle in the CBA of how the salary cap is structured, with players getting some funny money and the way teams are building that. So we'll talk with Matt Derrick about that. The Show Me Sports Investment Act passes the Senate a couple of days ago, or at least, Wednesday night. Back to the House, where it already passed the House, but now heads back to the House to pass. And if that happens, then Missouri will have their very competitive offer to the Chiefs and the Royals to stay on the Missouri side. We'll talk about that with Matt Derrick. And also the story that came out about Caleb Williams at ESPN, the longer piece in discussing Caleb Williams saying he didn't know how to watch film, which I don't think is a shot at Caleb Williams. I think that's a shot at the coaching staff. Because how many players get to the NFL and understand the nuances and the particulars of how to watch film, what you're looking for, and also to be efficient at it? It's not an easy thing to do. It's why we talk about players sort of getting mentorship from older players that have been there, done that understand how to watch film. So I want to talk about that with Matt Derrick as well. And then Ryan Tracy's going to join us at 1 o'clock, RGR Football. We've got the cuts before the show is over as well, 913-912-4810. Let's talk about the Royals. They take the series from the Cards. Jack Caglione gets his first hit as a Major League Baseball player. Had a rough day overall. A few strikeouts in the second game. Didn't hit the ball as hard in his at-bats as he did the first night on Tuesday night. But he gets the double, helps the Royals get the 3-0 lead. Maybe this is correlation causation. Maybe it's coincidental. But Jack Caglione's been in the lineup for 3 games. And it is the most runs that the Royals have scored in any 3-game stretch this year. 22 runs. And it surpassed the previous high by 4. They aren't averaging 4 runs per game. And it surpassed their previous high by 4. And that previous high was 18 runs those last 2 games in Baltimore when they hit all those home runs. And then the first game against the White Sox. They scored 4, 11, and 3 to get to their 18 runs. They scored 22 in this set against the Cardinals, including first-inning home runs, getting on the board early. Now, a first-inning home run, is that impacted by Jack Caglione? No. Are the 22 runs specifically connected to Jack Caglione? No. If Jack Caglione was still in Omaha, would they have scored 22 runs? I actually don't know that. I'm going to say no because I know for a fact they did that with him in the lineup. And he got the double, the RBI double, right, and scored a run. But it's impacted by what we were wondering, would some Royals start to play like the back of their baseball card at the same time? And if that's the case, boy, this team can really get hot. And I'll get into the frustration of game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday because I really felt like on Tuesday night, and then with Noah Cameron on the mound, getting the 3 runs, taking the lead, and now we know with the runs they scored last night, the 7 runs, and getting the win there, it feels like this team is on the cusp of getting hot. They had that 17-4 stretch, and they weren't ripping the cover off the baseball. But they went 17-4. They were finding ways to win. A game where they gave up runs with their pitching staff, they scored runs. A game where their pitching staff was going at and absolutely shutting the other team down, they didn't score as many runs, but they still got the win. Again, 21 games, they went 17-4. And I feel like that's the cusp of what the Royals are getting ready to do. And I know the Yankees are coming to town next week. That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that 3-game set against the Yankees. They've got the White Sox for 3 games this weekend and then returning home. So the Yankees could certainly pour some cold water on a hot stretch for the Royals. That could be the case. But I just felt like, this was, and they got the A's heading to town after that. Hopefully you can take care of business. Heading to Texas, heading to San Diego, returning home against Tampa, and then the Dodgers. But against the Cardinals, we're starting to see players that are swinging a hotter bat at the same time. Stringing hits together, but stringing extra base hits together. Jonathan India's last 25 games. All right, I'm going to throw some numbers out at you, so, I know numbers aren't the easiest to digest on the radio, but Jonathan India's last 25 games, he's hitting almost 290 in his last 25 games. He's getting on base at almost 340. Slugging isn't great, but he's OPSing 723. Again, I don't care if Jonathan India is going to have slug to his game. I care about the batting average and really the on-base percentage. The on-base percentage is not to where I would like it to be, even in this hot stretch of 25 games where it's sitting at almost 340. I'd love it to be at 350. Now, I can make it like 7 games for India and give him a 380 on-base percentage and show that he's really getting hot. But I wanted to extend it outside of just, he's had a few hot games. No, this is a longer stretch for India, turning it around. Again, the on-base percentage isn't necessarily to where I would like it to be at 350. 360, that would be ideal for Jonathan India. Well, I mean, ideal would be 400, but whatever. But again, he's batting 290. So the bat is coming around, and I think as the bat comes around, the walks will come around. Vinny Pasquantino's last 33 games, he's batting 343. He's getting on base at almost 390. His last 33 games. It's the last day of May all the way through June. Or excuse me, last day of April, I should say. Last day of April through yesterday's 2 games. Getting on base at almost 390. Slugging almost 490. He's got an 870 OPS. Vinny Pasquantino does. And over 162 would be pacing for 100 RBIs and 25 home runs. As your number 3 hitter. Yeah, I'll take it. And that's 33 games. Again, it's not 7. It's not 10, 11, 12. It's 33 for Vinny, batting 340. It's 25 for India, batting 290. And the last 12 games for Salvi, again, it's not 7. It's not 30 as well. But the last 12 games for Salvi, he's batting 320, getting on base at 360, and slugging 500. He's got an 858 OPS his last 12 games. So you've got India getting on base at 340, Vinny OPSing 870, Bobby doing Bobby things, Michael Garcia having an all-star season. He should be an all-star. Salvi now getting hot, and Jack's bat in the lineup. Drew Waters has come back to earth a little bit, but I think if we just simply take away the right-handed at-bats from Drew Waters, then, those numbers look a little bit better. I used my Royal Tannenbaums GIF yesterday when Owen Wilson says, well, everyone knows that Custer died at Little Bighorn. But what my book presupposes is maybe he didn't. But my quote was, well, everybody knows Drew Waters is a switch hitter. But what my book presupposes is maybe he isn't. Maybe he's just a left-handed hitter. because against righties, he's OPSing at like 400. Or as a righty, I should say. Against lefties from the right side of the plate, he's OPSing at like 400. Maybe just drop the right-handed helmet. Maybe don't even give him a helmet that has the flap on it from the right side. You don't get that one. You don't get the ear on the left side of your helmet. Sorry. You get the ear on the right side of the helmet. That's it. And if you want to take a chance and go up there with no ear flap, that's fine. That's your choice, man. But, it's not like we can take away a glove from you to not play a position. The only thing I can do to take away a bat from you is not give you the helmet that has that left ear flap on it. You only get the right ear flap. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's see what Drew Waters looks like if he's not batting from the right side. Maybe he's just a left-handed hitter. Ellie De La Cruz is not as good from the right side as he is from the left side. But he's still pretty dang good. He's still pretty dang good from the right side. Drew Waters has been worse than Michael Massey on the season when he's batting right-handed. But there are guys that have been playing some awesome, awesome baseball. I think this is a stretch where the Royals are going to get hot. It's not a given that they go and sweep the White Sox because the White Sox just split the series with the Tigers. Again, it's sort of unfortunate that they lose yesterday's first game of the doubleheader because of the fact that the Tigers struggled against the White Sox. Splitting a 4-game set was really surprising. If the Tigers are coming back to earth a little bit, this is a chance where I feel like the Royals offense might be hitting a stride. We'll see. Then this is an opportunity for them to gain some ground. We'll talk about what took place in the first game. I've got thoughts. But as we take a break, I want to give a huge shout-out. Angel Zerpa, Steven Cruz, Estevez in the second game. By the way, in the first game, it was soft contact, man. The Ghost Runner scores on a soft bouncer on a Baltimore chop. If that ball does not hit the plate and bounce that high, then I think Salvi can cut the runner down at home because that guy was running with that guy had a parachute on his back. I don't remember the dude's name, but one of the backup catchers. He had a parachute on it. It was as slow as molasses. But the ball hits the plate. It's a Baltimore chop. Salvi can't make a play, steps on first. But then some soft contact after that. And runs score. What are you going to do? Estevez comes back in the second game. And shout out Zerpa, Cruz, Estevez, ZCE, as everybody would call it. Zerpa may be getting back into some more clutch leverage situations with how he pitched. That was the best I've seen Steven Cruz look. What Steven Cruz did yesterday is what the Royals were dreaming of what Hernandez could look like one day. And by the way, did anybody hear Rex call Steven Cruz Carlos one time? I think it wasn't yesterday. I think it was the previous time that Steven Cruz was out there. He called him Carlos. Because Steven Cruz is who they were hoping and praying Carlos Hernandez would one day grow into. And what Steven Cruz did yesterday was everything the Royals would dream about that Hernandez would do maybe once. Cruz was brilliant yesterday. He had the Cardinals guessing. He was throwing strikes and they were taking pitches. He was throwing balls outside of the zone and they were swinging through it. That's a lineup that wasn't seeing what he was throwing, that was guessing, and his stuff was still getting swing and miss. He was awesome. When he's on, when he looks like that and he's got control of his pitches, he's damn good and is a freaking weapon in the Royals bullpen. But he's not like that often. They needed him to be that last night, and he was. They needed Zerpa to be September and October Zerpa, and he was. And Estevez is leading the American League in saves and got his 100th save. He's only 200 and change away from Monty, but got his 100th save last night, did Estevez. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about the decision, what happened in game number 1. We'll get into that. Game 2 with Cole Reagans. We got to talk about it, man. We got to discuss what we're seeing from Cole Reagans. Yeah, I'm worried. I am officially worried with what's going on with Cole Reagans. And, of course, we can all just bask in the glory of Bobby Witt Jr. being Superman. I put out the graphic that my nephew's wife created on Facebook with Mahomes in his throw against the Bucs, levitating, Superman, and then Bobby
awesome.
Witt.
I saw that. That was awesome. It was perfectly done, too.
I mean, we've got those two guys in their prime here in Kansas City right now. We got the face of the NFL. He's still in his prime. He's 30. He's 29 still. He's not 30 yet. But the face of the NFL and the guy who finished second in MVP and a guy who a year later, we're talking about 12 months later, maybe less than that, making it, I guess it would have been the All-Star game last year, a little bit after. How dumb of an argument people were having that we're talking about Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt Jr. Just absurdity. Just the dumbest of arguments. It took, 8 months for us to say, shut up. All right, enough of it. Y'all can try to have, it's Burrow to Mahomes. It's Allen to Mahomes. It's Lamar to Mahomes. It's all these different quarterbacks. It's Gunnar Henderson to Bobby Witt. No, it's not.
He beat Gunnar Henderson so bad he banished him to last place in the East.
Anybody arguing Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt at
swept
short?
him out of the playoffs and then banished him to last place in this season.
Yeah. With the game-winning hits, by the way, Bobby, in the postseason. Anybody arguing Gunnar over Bobby right now? And I know it's like, well, he had the diving catch and he had the 2-run home run on Tuesday, and he laced the single to left field on 115 miles an hour before Michael Garcia hit the home run down the right field line. So we're talking about a series with Bobby, but he's still Bobby. And that was brilliant. I mean, we've got somebody at Kaufman that's doing Bo Jackson things defensively. Only we're experiencing it in real time. And we're not looking back at some of the things that Bo Jackson did. You know, we're not having to go back in nostalgia and go, oh, my God, Bo Jackson ran up the wall. Oh, the way that he threw Harold Reynolds out. Oh, just tracking down those line drives in the outfield are just stupid, man. The plays Bo Jackson made. They're in our memory, right? It's the younger version of ourselves. So we have more of an affection for them. But Bobby is doing Bo Jackson things. And it should be acknowledged that for the first time since Bo, somebody's wearing a Royals uniform doing Bo things out there on the field defensively. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. clock now will include, is Patrick Mahomes still in his prime? That seems to be the most pushback with my tweet that said, hey, both these guys, we have these guys in Kansas City in their prime right now with the two Superman. It's that or the tool bags that are, oh yeah, what happened in that game with Mahomes? I don't know what happened in the game with Mahomes. I'm not really sure. I bet you could probably find out. I bet that was a rhetorical question, so I'm not going to answer it. You know, another one. Oh, really? Oh, what's Bobby batting in the postseason? Yeah, I know. Bobby Witt, second in the MVP, helping lead the Royals to the playoffs. But, you know, he wasn't all that good in the playoffs. Oh, except for those 2 game-winning hits against the Orioles to get them to the divisional series against the Yanks. But look at his overall numbers, though. I'm going to look at a spreadsheet. I can look at I can look and see what Baseball Reference says. So I guess we'll talk about what prime means for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, in theory, he is invested in Prime, the drink, so he will always be in his prime, right? I mean, that's just, he will literally always be in Prime unless he sells. Then he won't be. But right now, he's in Prime. 913.
Partially in Prime.
That's a good point, yes. But he's in.
He's in.
He's in.
He's in.
I mean, there you go. He's part of it. He's
on the front 9.
Yeah, that's right. He's got his own.
In
his
reality,
career?
Yeah, I would say.
I agree with that. Yeah, look, and we'll talk about this with Matt Derrick.
Front 9 of his prime.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes, I think the hits and the ankle injuries, because that's been the biggest issue. I mean, every time he goes down, it's like, oh my God, a knee. And it's like, oh no, it was an ankle. Oh no, it's a knee. Oh, okay, it's an ankle. Now, we had the knee in Denver in 2019, but since then, it's been about the ankles. I think the hits and the ankles will eventually catch up. What about this last year said that he looked any different than what he did in his previous years? Now, if we're talking about depth of target and things like that, yeah, okay, playing different. But I'm talking about avoiding sacks, running, picking up first downs with his legs. Those are things he looked the same doing that. So, and he also went to 3 straight Super Bowls. And he's still not 30 yet. He's 29. And a quarterback's prime is going to last a little bit longer. And
just remember Brady and what we didn't say.
When was his prime?
We didn't say it, but it was on the field at 1 Arrowhead Drive when everyone said it was done, when we beat them by 40 points.
Every year.
3 more Super Bowls. So.
Every year, man. And it's interesting that you have, is Mahomes still in his prime? And then at the same time, people are going, oh, yeah, what happened in that Tampa Bay game when he had that flying throw? He lost to Brady.
45
who was 44 years old
something like
when
that.
He did that.
He was 45 when he retired.
Is Mahomes in his prime at 29? Yes, he's in his prime in his 30-year-old season. He is. We'll talk about that with Matt Derrick. But let's get into the decision that took place yesterday. This has been much talked about. Here's Matt Quattrero yesterday after game 1 of the doubleheader, the loss in extra innings. It was a heartbreaker. It was a giveaway for the Royals for many different reasons. It wasn't a giveaway by this decision. Okay, there were a lot of things along the way that contributed to them losing. It's a team game, and it took the whole team working together to blow that one. Okay, so here's Matt Quattrero specifically asked about the outing, what he saw from Noah Cameron, and then Annie Rogers has the follow-up with the decision to pull him after 6.
It was a little rough early. He didn't have his command. He was walking a couple guys, but as the 4th and 5th went by, he was settling in, getting sharper. The breaking balls looked better, and his command was better.
He's only had 82 pitches, I think, after 6. What was the conversation like to, take him out or maybe give him another inning? What could take us through that?
Yeah, I think we were right in the heart of the order with the 3 righties. We're going to go to Schreiber there 9 times out of 10, and saying early on how Cameron had to work to get through those first 2-3 innings. I thought that made the decision a little bit easier.
So I was driving yesterday, so I couldn't tweet it out at the time. But, man, I wanted to. So it's not second guessing. To me, it was first guessing when he pulled Noah Cameron. Now, his explanation is defensible. He went to Schreiber. Schreiber's a righty. You've got 4, 5, 6 that are all righties coming up for Noah Cameron. He had some control issues early in the game. And by the way, Noah Cameron's control issues in a tough game apparently is 4 runners in 6 innings. Put that into perspective of how good Noah Cameron is. You know what we'd be saying about Cole Reagans if he had the outing that Noah Cameron had yesterday? Hey, Cole Reagans looks like he's Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans looks good. Sweet, man. Instead, it's Noah Cameron, and it was like, well, he did kind of struggle in the game. There were some hard hits against him. He had those 2 walks in the second inning. I mean, this was a rough outing for Noah Cameron. 6 innings, no earned runs, but he gave up 4 base runners. 4 guys got on base against him. I mean, you got to get him out as soon as you can. Again, exaggerating there. But it is a figure of speech to say, well, 9 times out of 10, I would do this. And he said, 9 times out of 10, you go to Schreiber there. Well, I would just wonder what the one time would be then. If 9 times out of 10 you go to Schreiber, what would the one time be that you didn't go to Schreiber in that situation? Would the one time be first game of a doubleheader? The starter on the mound only has 82 pitches. You don't have Urseg or Harvey. You have a starter in the second game that hasn't pitched into the 6th inning since April 13th, is coming off an IL stint. His rehab start was only, 3 or 4 innings in Omaha. What's the one time then? Unless you said 10 out of 10 times we're going to Schreiber in that situation. Well, no, you've left the door open. Again, I acknowledge maybe he wasn't being literal in saying 9 times out of 10. But he's also saying, yeah, that isn't an automatic that we're going to put Schreiber in that situation every single game. That's not automatic that he's going to pitch that. But 9 times out of 10, we're going to do that. Okay, then what is the 10%? What's the 1 time out of 10 that you would do that? Because if there was 1 time out of 10, if there was a scenario that you would say, it probably wouldn't go to Schreiber in that situation, it might be first game of a doubleheader with a big question coming up in the night game. And your guy Noah Cameron on the mound, whose rough outing is 4 base runners. He's thrown 82 pitches. Now, if he was at 92, all right, I can understand it a little bit more. All right, you don't want the guy going out there and throwing 110, 115. If he has or you know what, we wanted to get a clean inning there. If we put him out there and he throws 15 more pitches and he's already at 92, now he's over 100. And then we've got somebody coming in anyway with guys on base. It's a risk. We didn't want to do that. We wanted a clean inning. We had the righties coming up. Okay. But he had 82 pitches. And he threw 6 innings. And now I wonder, is it pitch count that we worry about? Is it innings pitched that we worry about? Is it times through the order that we worry about? Because it feels like it jumps around from time to time. It's like, well, yeah, but the guy was at 95. He was at 100 pitches. You got to get him out of the game. Okay. I mean, the guy threw 8 innings. You got to get him out of the game. Well, it was the 3rd time through the order. You got to get him out of the game. Well, you don't have to get him out of the game. There are situations that maybe dictate you leave him in the game. I am not here for the extremes on this conversation.
It's hilarious. I brought up Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It's hilarious. I brought up Brandon Staley, and this just sounds like it just married to the analytics, regardless of feel of the actual game.
Well, and people were on Brandon Staley's side when it worked, and frustrated when it didn't work. And I think there are extremes, and there were clear extremes yesterday. And I'm not going to be a part of the extremes here. Okay, I'm not going to be extreme. You know what? We're going to use more than words. But on the radio, we're going to use mainly words. It's an extreme reference. Sterling, that one's for you. Shout out while you're playing golf somewhere, probably. I have talked about how I've been on board with Q's decisions as the in the bullpen way more times than not. Probably 9 times out of 10, I've agreed with the moves that Q makes. Probably even more. There have been a couple of times early in the season when I wanted to see him go to Urseg. In a situation that felt like this game was on the line. It was either Sam Long or Zerpa or somebody besides Urseg, and it was like, man, That felt like the game right there. And if you're going to throw the guy that you want to throw 4, 5, 6, well, you had 4, 5, 6 coming up, and you had guys on base. That felt like the Urseg spot. So we've talked about that before. But I hate to always preface with, I like Q. I think he's done a damn fine job. He led this team and helped them get to a postseason. They played in the divisional series. He used the bullpen pretty brilliantly against the Orioles. So that helped. And for the most part, and we've talked about some of the positive moves he's made. He went to this guy, he went to the guy. That was awesome. I love that. I think it was a mistake yesterday. And to me, it's not hindsight. I would have tweeted it out in the time. Now, the only thing I could tweet out was when it was falling apart going, I guess it wasn't the best thing to pull your, stud after 82 pitches and 6 innings in day one of a doubleheader with an unknown that night with Cole Reagans. Because, well, I hope Cole Reagans goes deep into games. Well, I do too, but hope shouldn't be a strategy. You've got to be planning for Cole Reagans not to go deep, because when Cole Reagans was healthy, he was only pitching 5 innings. Again, April 13th is the last time he got past the 5th. Now, yes, he missed some time, but go look at his game log. It's 5 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings. That's what he's doing this year. So you've got to plan for that. Schreiber needs to come through. It's his job. Quatrero calls on him, brings him out there. Your job to come through. Daniel Lynch. He's had control issues. Those control issues continued. Taylor Clark has been awesome, and he hung a slider. And Herrera made him pay. That was unfortunate. The Royals also get back in that game. There were many things about that game that I think cost them the game, as I've said. Jack Caglione was at second with nobody out after he hit the double, and Drew Waters struck out. You're up 2-0 at that point. Runs matter with Noah Cameron on the mound. Drew Waters, just get him over to third. See if you can see if you can manufacture a run. First and second, nobody out. Michael Garcia double play. You pulled Noah Cameron. Bobby Witt's air in the bottom of the 7th. Clark's hanging slider in the 8th with 2 outs and an 0-1 pitch. There's a lot of things that happen in that game. But here's my point on this, is that if we're going to trust that Noah Cameron is that good, if we actually say Noah Cameron's struggling was 4 base runners in 6 innings, then he's your horse. And if he's your horse, then you use that guy to help you keep guys ready for the night game when you don't need to frivolously bring somebody in. And the conversation about, well, it was the heart of the order. You didn't want him to face the heart of the order. Well, then don't pitch the 6th inning then. Because he went through 6. You know who he faced off against the 6th inning? Was it 7, 8, 9? No. 1, 2, 3. The 3rd time through the order in the 6th inning was 1, 2, 3. Well, you don't want to face these guys the 3rd time through the order. Then don't pitch the 6th, because he faced the top of the lineup the 3rd time through the order in the 6th. Well, he only had like 68 pitches. Okay, so is it pitch count? Because he only had 82. Well, he'd only thrown 5 innings. Okay, well, he only threw 6. Well, it's the 3rd time through the order. Yes, and he just went the 3rd time through the order with the top of the lineup. 1, 2, 3. Would you rather him face 1, 2, 3 a 3rd time, or 4, 5, 6 a 3rd time? Well, those guys are righties. Okay, then is he a situational starter that can't go up against righties because he retired those guys earlier in the game? Well, Herrera hit him hard. Okay. That's fine. Whatever. Let's just be consistent. 3rd time through the order, then don't pitch the 6th, because that was the 3rd time through the order with 1, 2, 3. Well, those guys were lefties. Okay, then after 5 innings and a righty comes up, you got to pull Noah Cameron then, because you don't trust him to go up against righties late after 5 innings, apparently. If there's a righty up there, you got to get him out after 5 innings. Third time through the order. Well, he really struggled in the second inning when he walked 2 guys. I mean, that's struggling. That's what we're talking about here. Well, Schreiber's got to come through. Agreed. He didn't. Lynch has to come through. Agreed. He didn't. Clark has been awesome. Agreed. He hung a slider. But that's the risk of going to the bullpen. You don't know what that guy has that night. You know what Noah Cameron had. He was getting hit hard for 4 base runners. He wasn't getting hit hard and surviving first and second, nobody out, or bases loaded, 1 out, and striking out guys to survive, or getting line drives to a center fielder and toot blands to be able to get out of innings. He gave up 4 base runners, man. So, yeah, the first game was frustrating. It wasn't second guessing, it was first guessing. And no, I don't have all the information that Quatraro has. And this is where I hate the extremes. One side is, you tweet that out. One side goes, oh, so I guess you're smarter than Quatraro. No. Another side, well, Quatraro sucks. He should be fired. No. Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL, but I question sometimes his 4th down decisions. And he's got a lot more information. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But I think he's made mistakes sometimes in reads and thrown an interception. We can acknowledge that, right? This was a mistake by Quatraro, in my opinion. I think there's nuance that goes, you don't have to be an extreme. He doesn't suck and should be fired. He's not getting everything right. And it's not results-based to me. It's first guessing. But Schreiber should come through, Lynch should come through, Clark should come through. All of those things are facts. Schreiber, Lynch, and Clark let Quatraro down in the decision that he made. Zerpa, Cruz, and Estevez bailed him out in the second game with the decision that he made. Because if Zerpa didn't have it and Cruz didn't have it, well, now it looks even worse that you pulled Cameron. More Zone next. things up here in this first hour. And again, I'm not here for the extremes of, well, you know, the managers and coaches have more information than you. Of course they do. Absolutely. Nobody's debating that. But managers and coaches and players can make mistakes. They can. And if we acknowledge that, man, Q did this, this, and this, and it worked, that was good. You know, oh, Q went and pulled Ursig in this spot and pulled him from the bullpen and brought him in, and bing, 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 got him out. Great move. Then can we acknowledge that, I think that was a mistake, that he pulled Noah Cameron. It could have worked. There are other good decisions that I've thought that didn't work. It happens. It's sports. Matt Derrick next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast, joins us here on a Friday. Matt, how are you, sir?
I am dandy, Jason.
Dandy like a lion. So dandy, I'm a lion.
You are the wordsmith of the day.
It's so dumb.
You make it all
so
happen.
Dumb. You know what? Halliburton is clutch like a stick shift. You know, he is, he's automatic, yet manual. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
It's so weird. Pacers get the win last night. The crazy grasping.
There's nothing crazy about these comebacks anymore.
Yeah,
it's just what they do.
You're right,
so.
yeah. They continue to grasp victory from the jaws of defeat, as opposed to, I think, other teams grasping defeat from the jaws of victory.
What's the basketball version of keep the line moving? Because that's what the Pacers do.
Yeah, I think the Pacers are. But what's the, just keep, because, anybody can score. Anybody, Nembhard hit a three. Neesmith, of course, hit a three in the comeback. And then Nembhard misses a three so badly that Pascal Siakam is there for like the almost airball layup.
Neesmith brought SGA to the floor. Didn't just hit a three, step back, put SGA in the blender.
Well, that was Nembhard.
Or my bad, Nembhard did that.
Yeah, because Neesmith hit the three from the corner.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course he's going to hit that three to pull him within 6 because they were down 9 with 2 minutes to play. And that's the number. It's 9 with under 2.5 minutes to play. Teams are, 0 and 5,722 or something like that. I think that number's exaggerated, but maybe not by much. So he hit the three to pull him within 6. Nembhard hits a three. Nembhard misses a three, and then the layup by Siakam. Then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander making the bucket, to go up 5, and then ultimately Halliburton making the game winner with 0.3 on the clock. Just it's been unbelievable. It's hard to explain what this team is doing, and the Chiefs' 2019 run had some version of it. Only their comebacks were in the second quarter. Down by 24 to the Texans, and they take the lead.
They take the lead, yeah.
Down by 10 to the Titans twice, and they take the lead. Down by 10 in the fourth quarter to the 49ers is probably the one that stands out the most, that they went on that crazy run. But it didn't take a final drive to get the game done. These Pacers games are final shots by trailing to tied or trailing to win. And the Chiefs didn't have that because they had that 21-0 run against the 49ers, to where then it was Jimmy Garoppolo last couple of drives was just sort of desperation there. And the Chiefs, we knew, had, secured that win.
I mean, let's face it, last night was not that challenging by the Pacers because, they weren't down 9 with 52 seconds left or something. I mean,
they were down 7 with 40-something against the Knicks.
This was they were down, 11 with 2:50 left? That's plenty of time. That's
child's play.
That's like Holmes being down 14 with 5 minutes to play.
Come on.
And all these shots Halliburton's taken, they're not tied. It's not like, hey, we miss, we go to overtime. It's like, you miss, you lose the game, and he's just give me the basketball. It doesn't matter. He makes it look easy. It's not really that big a deal.
Teams trailing by 9 points in the final 3 minutes of an NBA Finals game since 1971 are now 1-182. That's the actual number. I know I was joking about 5,000. They are now 1-182.
That's the crazy thing, is that they keep having these stats that's okay, the last 182 or the last 273 teams to be in this situation have all lost.
The Pacers sort of Mahomes. Remember we would talk about Mahomes' record when he's trailing by 10 points in a game. Oh, they've got him right where they want him. The Pacers in the postseason have come back from down 15 or more 5 times. That's the most comebacks in a single postseason in play-by-play era since 1997. The Pacers, when trailing by 15 or more in the playoffs, are 5-3. Yeah. They have a winning record when trailing by 15 or more in the postseason. The numbers that go along with what they've been doing are just unbelievable, and I appreciated this
and
tweet.
they don't have Patrick Mahomes on their team. I mean,
That's
what's
a good
up
point.
with that?
Well, they've got Halliburton, so same thing, underrated. Mahomes, people are going to be exposed after they traded Tyreek Hill. He goes on his scorched earth MVP tour, winning a Super Bowl in 2022. Halliburton's the most overrated. Goes on his, I'm now the most clutch player that we've ever seen. Guy 6 of 7 to in the fourth quarter overtime, under 90 seconds to tie or take the lead. Shot in the air, he's 6 of 7 on those attempts. But I love this tweet from Bet Lab Analytics. Says, y'all turned Tyrese Halliburton into Teen Wolf. That's pretty brilliant, man.
It's accurate.
Anybody that's seen Teen Wolf. Which, by the way, you are allowed to stand directly under the basket on the baseline when somebody's shooting free throws. You are allowed to do that. That's a real thing that happened. So I just love that Teen Wolf turned his teammates into stud players too. Like, not only did he turn into a stud player, but everybody else was making shots that they never typically make, It's just, it's what...
hey, once Jimmy Chitwood got in the game, I mean, even Ollie was hitting free throws.
That's a good point, man.
I mean, Hoosiers is the same thing.
Cags gets in the game, and now they've scored 22 runs in 3 games, the Royals.
Exactly.
Coincidence? No. It's correlation, causation, baby.
Exactly.
Because there are different ways of motivating people, right, Matt?
Darth Vader knew how to do that.
There are multiple ways. You can find ways of motivating people. And maybe Cags in the lineup was, no, we'll find other ways to motivate these
Perhaps
guys.
I can find new ways to motivate them. Exactly. I'm now since that I'm now on a stretch where whenever I reply to anyone in text with a GIF, I'm just replying with Star Wars GIFs.
I love it.
Yeah, I got a Boba Fett last night.
You got a Boba Fett last
Nice.
night. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. I told Matt that we'll have him on, and we will only talk about sports through Star Wars GIFs. And we'll argue about GIF or GIF. We won't do that.
I mean, GIF. It's GIF.
I know, giraffe. Giraffe, I know. It's giraffe.
But it's an R, not an F.
Who created this? That's who we need to ask.
He says it's GIF.
Well,
he created it.
I thought he said GIF.
No, he said it's GIF.
I think he said GIF.
No, he created it and said it should be pronounced GIF.
He needs to be louder then, because how do you create something and no one knows what to call it? Even when you come out and tell people.
It's a good point. And then people are like, no, I think he said the other thing. No, I think he did. I'm not sure.
And
Did he say this thing?
I'll continue to call it GIF too, even though we have this conversation.
Yeah, and I'll continue to call it GIF. GIF, I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's Missouri, not Missouri.
Oh, thank God. You are right about that, no doubt. What's the team? I was going to ask you about it. Who did Chillicothe beat last night in the state championship?
I know Rogersville was playing in a game. Was that Rogersville?
Let's see. Chillicothe. It was a Springfield team. Chillicothe baseball.
I mean, Rogersville is right outside Springfield. But.
Championship. They played Logan
Rogersville.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
It's just Rogersville.
Yeah, Logan Rogersville is who they beat. Was that your high school? Was it a rival?
Not my high school, but the Rogersville School District abuts the Springfield Public Schools District, exactly where I used to go. So,
okay,
yeah,
so
Rogersville was right up against
bleep
Hillcrest.
Rogersville. So
yeah,
were you team Chillicothe
they're
or
lower class?
I was gonna say team Chillicothe or Rogersville from Springfield. You got your roots there.
My family was a Rogersville resident when I was born. So I was born in Springfield, but technically I grew up for 3 months in Rogersville.
Okay. So are you disappointed that Chillicothe got their first ever state baseball championship against Rogersville?
Rogersville was some cardiac kids. I mean, they went on a pretty magical run to get there. So.
They did. And they tried to make a comeback.
Yeah,
and,
they tried.
They were down 9-3.
They did not give up.
Yeah, down 9-3. They had men on base. They got it to 9-7 with men on base, but Chillicothe closed the door. So congrats to the Hornets winning their first ever state baseball championship. And I meant to mention on Monday, and I blame Dylan for this, really, Matt. This is Dylan's fault.
Let's go for that, sure.
In whether it's Learn Funniest Best. I thought it would be Dylan's best, but he refused to say it with last Friday after the show was over, Aquinas winning a state championship. in baseball.
Yeah. Thank you. I
and
forgot.
Dylan not using it as his best on Monday from the weekend, but
it's despicable. I'm sorry.
Surprising.
Yeah, we didn't mention it on Monday, so I apologize that Aquinas won the state championship.
It's like a Terry Bradshaw relationship.
Terry Bradshaw.
I haven't been back yet, so
Have they unofficially retired your jersey?
No, and,
like they've unofficially retired the 12 now that Rogers is there.
Retirement of all time.
Rogers is there, and it's like, well, don't worry. They have, quote, unofficially retired the 12 jersey. So Rogers will probably wear 8 like he did with the Jets and at Cal, not wearing, Joe Namath's 12 with the Jets, which was thought of because Namath said he can wear the 12 if he wants to. And Rogers said, no, I'm going to wear 8. I'm not going to take the 12. I think because Terry Bradshaw said the things about Rogers that it's a joke and he should be just hanging out in the woods and chewing on bark and whispering to the gods. I think at that point maybe Rogers goes, you know what, I'm going to wear 12. I think I am going to wear 12. Namath accepted me. Bradshaw hates me. It's not retired, is it? Is 12 retired? I'm not asking Lawrence Taylor to unretire his jersey. It's not retired there in Pittsburgh. It's unofficially retired.
Congrats to Aquinas, though. I did not know that.
Aquinas got the baseball championship on Friday. And then today, we've got 2 local teams playing in the semifinals to play for the state championship, hopefully tomorrow. And that is Staley. First of all, at 4 o'clock today, Blue Springs South takes on Parkway South at 4 o'clock in the semifinals. And then Staley takes on Fort Zumwalt at 7 o'clock. If they both win, we get an all-Kansas City matchup. The worst thing would be the all-St. Louis matchup, okay?
That's the worst.
Yes,
yeah.
So minimum 1, not a Blue Springs South fan, being Lee Summit North, but for the sake of Kansas City, the Jags can come through. No allegiance whatsoever either way. More allegiance to Park Hill, but Staley certainly. Sure. Let's go through. Let's win it, and let's get an all Kansas City state championship final tomorrow with Staley and Blue Springs South, and everybody drive down to the Ozarks to watch Staley and Blue Springs South play each other.
And Staley is like my 5th or 6th maybe favorite high school.
Boom.
So because that district is the Staley district itself is like probably 1,000 yards away. Yeah. I love the way that things work in this world and everything because where do you build schools? You build schools wherever somebody gives you some free land to build a school.
True.
And that's usually a developer who wants a school next to their developments and everything like this.
Let's increase that property value.
So
it's a walking distance to this elementary school. You want your kids to be here.
I live about a half mile from the elementary school that is in the Liberty School District. And it is directly across the street from the elementary school that is in the North Kansas City School District. It's great. I love it.
My kids, where we live right across from Neiman, right next to Blue Valley Northwest. And in fact, my son and I, we go up to Blue Valley Northwest all the time and use the hitting cage. The fields up there are open. It's smart because why would you close the fields if you've got kids that are maybe in your district, even though we're not, but kids in your district that want to practice baseball that might be going to your school? That seems pretty smart. So it's cool that they do that. I hope they don't do that because my son and I have taken advantage of going up there and practicing on the fields. We have taken care of it. We're not, being jerks about it. The batting cage, awesome. The tunnel that's there. They've got the L screen there. It's awesome. We appreciate that at Blue Valley Northwest.
Wow.
Very cool. And sometimes they'll even leave the bases on one of the fields. And so then we can really get practicing first base because I'm not going to take our portable base that has the stakes in it because I'm not going to drive the stakes down in the ground. I'm not going to mess up their field. All right. They're leaving it open. That's nice. And so it's hard for him to, stretch and do some of the short hops and everything with the base that moves. So sometimes the base will be out and we're like, boom, let's go. We're going to go work on first base here with the base that is there. So we live that close, but we're the Olathe East School District, so he would have to if he didn't go to Barstow, he'd be going to Olathe East, even though we're like right across the street from Blue Valley Northwest. When we go on walks, we'll be right there by Blue Valley Northwest when we go on walks. But
you gotta love that.
He doesn't go there.
I would be remiss if I also did, because Nick Jacobs would give me grief on 41 is the Mic podcast if I did not remind everyone that Chillicothe, home of sliced bread.
That's where they created sliced bread?
That's where they created sliced bread.
Would you say that this baseball
100%.
championship for Chillicothe is the best thing since sliced bread?
I would absolutely say that.
Have we finally found something that is
The best thing
literally
since sliced
true?
bread. Literally the best
thing since
bread.
sliced bread
Yes.
for somebody.
100%.
Chillicothe's state championship, the best thing since sliced bread.
Do they have like the
awesome.
saying like honored or like a statue or like a plaque somewhere for that saying?
It's like a bread
like
museum.
home of the best thing on earth.
That fact could be like the first ever learned funniest best, all three things at the same time.
It's a great point. Yeah. We might have had some that were close. Like I think Dylan's Jim Abbott was a learn funniest best because we learned that Dylan didn't know who Jim Abbott was, and then it was the funniest because of that, and then also our best because that was really
It was the best.
It was just the best. He's just because Dylan's the best, man.
Dylan is the best.
He's the freaking best, and in their class, Chillicothe's the best, and we'll see if Staley and Blue Springs South if they are the best in their class. Hopefully, one of them is, and I'm not going to say which one I would prefer. 50-50 on it. It's fine. The Kansas City area representing. The Royals went to St. Louis and got 2 of 3. Let's go to the Ozarks and take care of St. Louis.
I mean, I wanted to be all Kansas City, but I'm rooting for Staley. So
that's perfectly fine.
Sorry, not sorry.
And nothing against Blue Springs South, but there is the rivalry aspect that goes along with it.
Yeah, if Blue Springs South
South wins, I'm not going to be mad.
If Blue Springs South was playing Kickapoo, I would be going for Blue Springs
We'd
South.
hope they kick a butt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what they would do. Anyway, like we have Matt Derrick on to talk about high school baseball. It's typically what we have Matt Derrick on to do.
And it gives me everybody a chance to remind you that because my high school's baseball program is in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, I can say that I was cut from being a member of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
And so you've got that Michael Jordan, because then you went and played in Major League Baseball. You got cut from it, and then you were like one of the greatest first basemen we've ever seen. Why did they cut you?
Apparently it had something to do with me being not very good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't political? Because, anytime I got cut from teams in high school, it was all politics. We're not a part of the PTA. Our parents aren't donating enough money to the program. And it's all politics these days. This is the only reason I'm not playing. But you don't play defense, though. I like to play street ball, and we don't play a lot of defense in street ball. Yeah, but we need to play defense in organized basketball. That's politics. It's all political.
I mean, it had a little bit to do with, as a freshman, my mom wouldn't let me throw a curveball, so all I threw were fastballs. Well, this was the 80s. At the time, everybody still believed that, throwing a curveball was going to screw up your arm and everything. So
now there's,
my mom wouldn't let me throw any breaking pitches or anything, so all I had were fastballs. So I don't think that Coach Davis liked that. I only got one at bat in the tryout.
I got some words for Coach Davis.
I only got one at bat in the tryout, and I struck out. So that was. I also broke an aluminum bat in the at bat.
Then that shows the power. I mean, good God, if you're breaking an aluminum bat, that means you're crushing it. That bat couldn't hand your power. The torque Matt Derrick puts on, the lag that he gets from his bat, the explosion, it actually broke the aluminum bat. The trampoline split.
I fouled a pitch off the tip of the bat.
Okay.
And I thought the bat looked funny, so I looked at the tip, and the cap of the bat had popped off.
Oh no.
So I just pounded it back in and everything.
Okay.
I fouled off the next pitch, and the cap also looked a little funny, so I looked at it, and all of a sudden there was a crack in the bat. No. So I was like, "No, man, do I continue this at bat, or do I go get another bat and everything like that?" So I went and grabbed another bat that was very, very similar, and struck out on the next pitch.
And that was the only bat you got in tryouts?
The only bat I got in tryouts. And also, there was also probably a little bit of it that I was not a practice runner.
Okay.
I mean, I was better off. I mean, if I'd gotten on base, I could have shown that I had at least average speed at the time.
Right.
But running gassers in the outfield.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan.
Wasn't my thing. Wasn't my jam. So I finished last in that.
That's unfortunate.
But I was also a freaking catcher, so of course I was going to be.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
although I did not try out at catcher because my knees were shot by that point.
So. Oh, so you weren't really a catcher at that point.
They didn't really know I was a catcher.
So would you try out at first?
I tried out first in outfield.
That's a transition, catcher to first. Ooh, catcher to outfield. That's tough. MJ Melendez tried that.
Those were my three positions primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I played like one inning at second base in my. But when you're tallest kid on the field, you don't belong at second base.
Yeah, you don't play second base. It's hard to reach down to get those grounders. I got an issue with Coach Davis now. He and I, we're gonna have some words on site. I see Coach Davis. It's on site. All right.
I am probably where I am today because of Coach Davis. So
Really?
because he was one of our teachers. But,
Okay, well, that's good, though.
And so I primarily knew him because I was involved in Literature Bowl, and he was an English teacher, and he ran the Literature Bowl. So I was always
Such
involved.
a dork.
I was a dork.
No wonder you got cut from the baseball team just for being part of Literature Bowl.
But then Coach
By the way,
Davis,
which is pretty cool looking back now.
my senior
you.
year, Coach Davis started our media program at Hillcrest.
How about that?
And so I was in the very first class, and he got me an internship that started the day after graduation at KTXR FM Springfield.
Okay.
101.5, the gentle giant of the Ozarks back then.
Okay, I take it back, Coach
Now-
Davis. It's
now
no longer
it's-
on site.
Now it's like, I don't know, 101.3, I don't know. I think it's like Christian music or something. But technically, I think the studio is like 99.7 The Jock, which is, like home to the ESPN Springfield.
There you go.
Which is got like, Art Haynes on there.
Yeah.
And, Ozarks legend Ned Reynolds, Tom Ladd, everybody. So
Coach Davis.
Corey Riggs, I think, is over there somewhere. So.
Okay.
So, hey, and then this story that nobody cares about now, but Hillcrest Television Magazine, just to give out the shout there, is the most award-winning media program in the nation.
How about that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, Coach Davis, I take it back. We're even now.
He's good.
We're even. We're
even
all
though
good.
he cut me from the team, and
We're
I
all good.
remind him of that regularly.
Yeah, I still think you missed your opportunity by not having Matt at first or in the outfield or shot knees as a catcher. It would have been. Or a guy that teach him a curveball.
I should have gone ahead and
Give a man a curveball, he strikes one person out. Teach a man a curveball, and he makes the varsity team.
I still would
It's the old saying.
have probably been cut from the state champs because our catcher that year was really, really good.
Okay, well, what are you going to do?
So.
Well, that's the only reason you didn't play.
He had a lot more power than I did. I was more of an average.
The
hitter.
only reason you didn't play is because it was a Missouri Hall of Fame team.
That's what we're going with.
There you
I got cut from the state champs and a Hall of Fame program.
The only reason I didn't play high school baseball is because I didn't play baseball past 5th grade. So
Matt
that's
was
why.
like
That's
high
the only
school.
reason.
Matt was like high school Jake Taylor.
There you go.
Like definitely
I
could have
love it.
still played.
Exactly.
I love it.
Leader of the team.
Heck yeah. He would have put down an amazing bunt in that state championship
Absolutely.
game and
That's
beat
right.
it out. That's right.
That's right.
I stopped playing baseball when I was in 5th grade because they were throwing the ball so hard I couldn't see it anymore. I thought. Turns out I was blind and I needed glasses. But by the time I figured out I needed glasses and I couldn't see anything, give him his glasses. He can't see the ball without his glasses. By the time I figured out I needed glasses, I had already stopped playing for a couple of years. And at that point, I'm not, playing at 3-2 for the Northeast Rebels. At that point, it was done. I'm not playing junior high. Not going to play high school baseball. Just not good enough. Although it would have been cool to play on the Lee Summit North team that played against Albert Pujols in high school.
That'd have been cool.
Where my buddy Lemos, Midwest Barbary, shout out, had the diving catch against Albert Pujols in the game. Hits one in the gap. He's playing center, runs over, dives, makes the catch. Still introduces himself with that story. 45 years old.
Still has the baseball.
45 years old. Hey, Justin Lemos, very nice to meet you. Made a diving catch on Albert Pujols in high school. No big deal.
I would do that too.
No big deal. No big deal. Anyway, are you next up to get your hair cut? Very good. Fantastic. Come on over here. This is the seat for you. Let's take a time out. We'll get into some Chiefs on the other side. Let's mark off all of the things that we had our pre-show meeting at 5 o'clock this morning, Matt, that we planned on talking about. Mark all of those off. Those are out. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. Josh Simmons. What did he look like in the team portion and observational portion that Matt Derrick got to see? Matt Ariza, the competition's real, and is it spectacular? We'll find out. Roger Goodell, the integrity of the cap might be called into question next CBA. Show Me Sports Investment Act back to the House. Caleb Williams learning how to watch film. We'll get into all of those things before we're done with Matt Derrick here on a Friday edition. More Zone next. WHB. We continue rolling along, hanging out with Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast. You guys, in your latest podcast, talking about some OTA activity. Let's talk about Josh Simmons. I think it was one of the stories to come from the observational portion on Wednesday that you guys were out there to be able to see. Jalen Moore, oddly enough, not practicing. Josh Simmons was practicing. So is there anything that you can see other than, look, he's out there participating in team portion, and this was not the plan?
Yeah, I mean, this was...
Maybe not the original plan.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it was kind of one of those things that the Chiefs hoped might happen, but it definitely wasn't, definitely going to happen. I mean, when they got him in for the rookie minicamp, it was like, we'll see. I mean, if he's able to get out there before the end of Phase 3 or get out there for the minicamp, that was going to be a huge win. And so the fact that he's already out there, it's pretty remarkable. He's still just barely less than 8 months from surgery. I mean, his injury was October 12th.
For a patella, not an ACL.
So, and I think, if I remember reading, I think his surgery was maybe 6 days later. I think his surgery, I think, will be right between the 12th and beginning of the mini camp on the 17th. I can't remember the exact date of when his surgery was, but he won't hit that 8-month mark until the mini camp. And that's pretty significant that he's already out there. I mean, this is, where you would normally be 9 to 12 months with his injury. Now, of course, the next thing is that, he's got to clear the next test, which is being out there with pads, and we're not going to get that until late July, so we need to see that. We'll see how much he does during the mini camp, which is a little bit more intense than OTAs. I mean, it's not much, but it's just a little bit of a step up. There's no contact right now. I mean, you're not doing much more than hand fighting and footwork and everything with between offensive and defensive lines. It's not supposed to be any contact, but there's a little.
Yeah.
So you can't tell necessarily a lot. I mean, it's flag football essentially at this point. So we'll see what happens. But the fact that he's even doing that at minimum, it's a big barrier for him to reach.
So Simmons sustained the injury October 12th. I can't find a date to when he actually had surgery. But I bring that up because October 8th is when Rashee Rice had his surgery. Now, he's doing more than Josh Simmons. He certainly looks like he's closer to playing and looks almost, I guess, if you didn't know he had an ACL surgery, maybe you wouldn't look out there and go, well, that guy's recovering from an injury. But ACL is different than patellar. But we're talking about guys that are participating in team portion of drills that one's a patellar surgery, one's an ACL injury, which are vastly different.
Well, and remember, Rasheed's wasn't even an ACL. It was
that's a good point. Yeah,
posterior lateral.
That's a good point. Yes.
So it was a bunch of other stuff.
It was as good of a knee injury that was season-ending that you could have for Rashee Rice.
And recovery-wise, very similar to an ACL.
Yeah.
So not dramatically different or anything. But
the patellar is dramatically different.
Yeah.
And the fact that surgery was right around the same time and Rashee Rice looks like he's fine, but the fact that Josh Simmons is even out there and what is clearly ahead of schedule, I think is, I think it's a gift. It's found money to a degree because I don't know what the Chiefs' plan was because you can get him in to look at him and look at the knee, and they talked about the surgery was great. All right, the doctor that performed the surgery, it was a great surgery. So that was the main thing that they had to figure out. And that was taken care of. And then you get him in for rookie minicamp. And they even talked about after the draft, Andy Reid was like, oh, definitely training camp. And then Brett Veach was like, oh, we'll see. And Andy said, definitely, we'll see. All right, what happens with Josh Simmons. But now that he's practicing at this point, I don't know what's going on with Jalen Moore, but, we're kind of getting the pulse of how people feel right now. I want to ask you a percentage from draft night to now on June 6th. When they drafted him that night, what percentage chance did you give that Josh Simmons in Brazil against the Chargers was starting at left tackle? What was the percentage chance?
I mean, I probably put the number on this that night, so I could probably even go back and listen and find out what I said on a podcast.
That's fine.
Because we know it. I mean, we've been talking about this for months. I've been the most pessimistic about this for a couple of reasons. One is that I've had personal experience, and therefore because of the personal experience with it, I've researched it a lot and talked to a lot of players and have looked at the numbers. So it's not enthusiastic, but I mean the idea that he would have been starting in week 1 against the Chargers. To me, on draft night, 1%. It's about as high as I could possibly go.
I gave it 10%. But 1% would have made sense. When they draft him in FI, you can have him there for a while, maybe a redshirt year. But
and you just signed Jalen Moore.
Right.
You're paying him at minimum $21 million this year. Maximum of $30 million over 2.
Yes. June 6th, what's the percentage chance that he's lining up at left tackle against the Chargers in Brazil?
See, I'm now closer to where you were. I mean, I'm
You're still only
not
at around
super
10%?
bullish, but I would go up to 10 and be in that ballpark.
Okay, so you're now at 10%. I went up from 10% to I am at 25%. That he's starting.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, I think that that's still
35%. 35%. That's probably unreasonable to you. 35% is where I'm at now. 10% to 35%.
That's
yours increased 10 times. Mine only increased 3 times.
Exactly.
3.5 times. So, yours is extreme.
I think there can be a decent range of differing, thoughts on it and everything. And, for all we know, maybe the Chiefs are thinking to themselves, we think this is 95%. I mean, maybe they feel that good. But that's the thing is that even the Chiefs right now, they're not going to know just his comfort level, the strength level, because that injury, what athletic trainers will tell you by and large, especially with these injuries, and bringing in the Rashee Rice is a good comparison, because typically for players like receivers, running backs, any of the skill position players, ACLs are an easier injury for them to come back from. And no, Rashee Rice is a little bit different, but it's the same kind of ballpark. Those injuries are a little bit easier. And so first year back, you might not be 100%, but you might be 90, 95%. And maybe you will be 100%. I mean, there's plenty of records of receivers coming back from ACLs and having 1,000-yard seasons. That's pretty normal. Somebody coming back from a patellar injury like this and coming back, I mean, even being an all-pro or Pro Bowl is, I mean, I'm not sure I know of one because, the history, and we don't have a perfect history because, honestly, patellar injuries are so bad that if players don't have to reveal that they had one, they're not going to. Yeah. I mean, I've heard, since the Josh Simmons pick, I've heard, a couple of players who had patella injuries that just never told. I mean, the teams knew, the player knew, but they never told anybody because if they didn't have to, they weren't going to. I mean, if it didn't come out, they weren't going to tell anybody because they're that just kind of as much of a stigma.
Yeah.
And you look back and, hey, look at Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham, after his patella tendon, played a while, was never the same player again. And he was one of the three. I know Victor Cruz was the other one. I think Maurice Claiborne was another. All three of them, I think, had patellas in like 15, and they came back in the 16 season and played. And like I said, Jimmy Graham, never the same again. I think Claiborne and Victor Cruz both played one and done. They're never seen from again and everything. And maybe not have been Claiborne. I may be thinking of somebody else. But, that's the thing is that patellar tendon injuries for the players that we know about and have been researched, I mean, the average length of a career for an NFL player after they have a patellar tendon injury is 2.5 years. So, I mean, he's a young guy. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic and everything, but I still don't think you're going to know what you got in Josh Simmons until year 2.
The reason I'm more optimistic is this is a first-round pick, and if the Chiefs felt like, okay, this guy, it's going to take a little bit, and, the full recovery from that, we don't want to get him out there and overexpose him. Right. The strength isn't going to be there, and now he's playing in preseason game number 1. I'm not saying that he is, but just as an example, a hypothetical, he's playing in preseason game number 1. He doesn't look all that great. Maybe we don't want to go that route. Like, they could handle him with kid gloves and say, look, he's recovering from a patellar injury. We think he is ahead of schedule. But this is a first-round draft pick. We're not risking anything. That's why we signed Jalen Moore, was that we weren't forced to do this. We aren't in a Kingsley Wanya situation of a year ago where one of them has to play left tackle. We feel good about Jalen Moore, so we're not going to do this. And the fact that he is participating and they feel like he is ahead of schedule gives me more confidence because they are more invested than we are in making sure that that knee holds up through his career, or at least the first 5 years of his career at left tackle for this team.
And hey, left tackles are like tea bags. You don't know what you got until you put them in hot water. You're not going to know about these guys until you get them out there. And there is absolutely zero motivation for the Chiefs. I mean, to not start Jalen Moore at the beginning of the season. I mean, unless he gets hurt or there's been a setback of some sort, there's no reason not to see what you have in Jalen Moore. And if he struggles, you can always go back to Josh Simmons. There's no real logic to starting Josh Simmons and then if he struggles, putting in Jalen Moore. I mean, you can do that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. And as far as, giving Josh Simmons the most possible time to be ready, I mean, that would make more sense is, let Jalen Moore start. And that's the thing. I mean, you look at it and you look at the big picture and it's like, okay, what would be the ideal scenario for the Chiefs? Ideal scenario is that Jalen Moore starts the season at left tackle, plays so well that you don't even think about making a move. You win a Super Bowl, and next year, when Jawan Taylor's gone, Jalen Moore moves over to the right side, and Josh Simmons is ready at the left side, and he's your guy for the next decade. I mean, that's the best case scenario. There's, there's other good scenarios. Maybe Josh Simmons plays, and you win a Super Bowl there too. But ideally, you paid a guy to let Josh Simmons just become who he's going to become on his own time and not try to rush him. And if Jalen Moore can do that for you, that's what you do.
We'll take a time out. We're hanging out with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. We'll talk a little punting with Ariza and that battle that's going on. And we'll see if anybody besides left tackles to see how good they are. You need to teabag them from Matt Derrick. We'll find out about that coming up next. Well, again. Maybe I'm crazy. It's crazy. It's true. Let's hear from Dave Tobe yesterday, or Wednesday, I should say. He was asked about Matt Araiza, punt god. He's got a huge leg. But he was asked about Matt Araiza and what he needs to improve on. And then there was a follow-up about the competition going on in camp. So here's Dave Tobe weighing in on the punter for the Chiefs.
We're looking for him. He's got a bomb of a leg. He can hit the ball long. We need more hang time on his punts, more vertical power. And then we need more accuracy in the pooch area, which is getting balls inside the 20. Yeah, get inside the 20. So that's what he's really emphasizing, during this offseason.
What are you seeing for Chiplitsky in terms of competition?
He's an NFL punter. Again, this would be the third time we had this. We had it with Jack Fox, we had it with Raquel, and we have it again because both of these guys are NFL caliber guys, and the competition is real. So Eddie's doing a great job at this point.
So let me ask you this, Matt. I know Dave Tobe said that, and he said it with some conviction. The competition is real. And there was also a follow-up of you put him in the category, not Araiza, who's the punter that's in camp, the Ray Guy Award winner.
Eddie Zaplicki?
Zaplicki, there you go. You put Zaplicki in the category of Fox and Ragnar, and he said, yeah, he does. So how real is this competition? How secure or lack thereof is Matt Araiza's job as the punter for the Chiefs this year?
I think it's somewhat secure. I mean, it's not guaranteed. I mean, this kid can Eddie Zaplicki. I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, I could be
wrong,
it's
Zaplicki, but it might be a die. I don't know. What if his first name is? No, actually, it's.
I'm largely basing it on somebody else's name that I knew that was very similar to that, and it was pronounced, at least the beginning way the same way. But everybody can pronounce it a little bit differently. Who knows? We still can't agree on how to pronounce Kelsey. So, no, I mean it's real because Zaplicki's got a leg. I mean, everything that Dave Tobe said is true, and so far the holding has looked good. So it hasn't been any issues there. That's the kind of funny thing is that
a big deal.
The Chiefs, they felt like what they were getting with Araiza last year was a guy who was going to be an incredible punter, and that they were just going to have to hold their breath on holds. And it ended up being the other way around. He was absolutely nails and a rock star on holds, but his punting needed some work. And I mean, on one hand, I think it's important to remember, Araiza was out of football for 2 years, so I think that's a big factor in the touch.
It's true.
I can tell you from talking to him, he talks about punting the same way that Harrison Butker talks about kicking. It's very intellectual. I mean, he will talk about the different styles of punts, and I remember, it was one of the primetime games, and I wish I could remember which one it was specifically, but I feel like he had like 4 or 5 punts in that game, and he had a pretty good night. And and he was talking about each kick was different, and he's like, okay, well, I did this spin on that one, and I was doing this on this other kick, and and it was like, well, it was in between, what I was going to do. It was hard to decide which I was going to style I was going to do on this other the other punt, and. He's an intellectual punter. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's not just a physical leg guy. But I think there's no doubt. I mean, his touch was off last year because I think just being away from 2 years of football did that to him. But Zaplicki, they wanted to push Araiza because they felt like that was the best way to get something out of him was to bring in competition. And if the competition wins, then, it's a win-win for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this, having watched this kid kick and Fox and Reckow and watching them compete in OTAs in the past, I will tell you, I think he's a better kicker than both those guys were at this stage in their careers.
Interesting, okay.
And honestly, I thought at the time, Fox was probably the worst of those three. And Reckow was really good last year. You knew that Reckow was going to be a kicker at some point in this league, be a punter, and obviously he had a great year last year, I think, with Cincinnati. And that's the thing is that you get the stink of Dave Tobe's instruction on you for just a few weeks and what you can become, because Jack Fox works with Dave Tobe, and next job is Detroit, and they don't want to let go of him. Tommy Townsend becomes a great punter, and last year, those were 3 of the best punters in the league, were those 3 guys. So, I mean, Dave Toad knows what he's talking about, and I said it before he said it yesterday. Zaplicki's going to be kicking in the league fairly soon, whether it's with the Chiefs or somebody else.
Let's hear. Let's see
Gotta
what
play how it's.
I think so.
We're going to be asking people a question. We're going to see if they can say my last name.
Your last name?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't think I could do it, bro.
That's a cat. No. Why am I having a blank right now?
These are his teammates.
Shafisky.
Close. Greedy.
I do not know how to say your last name.
Eddie. It's pronounced Eddie, see?
Eddie Kaplitsky. Kind of close.
Zaplicki. Am I correct?
Question for you. Eddie Chaplicki.
Ooh. I know the C silent has to be.
Chaplicki. That was probably the best one yet, actually.
Chaplitsky.
Yes. That was correct.
Chaplitsky. There you go.
I do not know how to pronounce it. Hold on, I gotta go one out.
Chaplitsky.
Kaplatsik.
Close.
Let me see one more time. Zabliki.
Good try. Chaplitsky. Chaplitsky.
Perfect.
Both got it right.
What did I say?
Sha.
Zabliki?
So Sha. Chaplitsky.
That's on me, bro.
Appreciate having
Zaplitsky.
you on.
There you go. Pronounced Eddie.
That was close to what Tobe said yesterday.
Yeah. Shaplitsky. Eddie Shaplitsky. Eddie Shaplicki or Plitsky? Because there's no T or a Z in there.
No, I have no idea where. I mean, but then again, I mean,
Yeah, where does the T or the Z come in?
I still don't know how Mike Krzyzewski gets that out of his name. So.
Yeah, so. So the coach said Eddie inside the 10. I like that as a name.
There you go.
You know, because that was an absolute issue for Ariza. Ariza was Matt inside the end zone. So there you go. We'll find out eventually how it's pronounced. I don't know. Shaplitsky. Shaplitsky? Shaplitsky.
Shaplitsky?
Shaplitsky. Even though it's CKI.
Zaplitsky or Shaplitsky?
Yeah. The C is silent. The Z is pronounced like a Z sound. So that makes sense. The Z is pronounced like a Z, but Shaplitsky.
So that would be Zaplitsky.
Zaplitsky. Sure. We'll find out. It needs to be more inside the 10 for Ariza, or heck, even inside the 20. I'll take that right now. Dylan Michaels, Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com, and 41 is the mic, heading up until 2 o'clock. So I want to talk about some things that Roger Goodell said last week at the owners' meetings. The main news that came out of that was, the tush push and NFL players and flag football and things like that. But I wanted to discuss this with you first, and that is, I put out a tweet of a graphic that has, Mahomes' throw against the Bucs when he's, horizontal or parallel with the ground, and along with the Bobby Witt catch yesterday in the nightcap, where he's parallel with the ground and has to actually dive and leap for the ball. It's not one of those I caught it and then I'm going to dive. One of those things. He had to catch it. He was in the air, extended before the ball got into his glove. It's one of the more impressive and amazing feats of athleticism and defensive plays that we've seen. So I tweeted it out and I said, man, it's just unbelievable that we have both these guys in their prime here in Kansas City. And I was surprised, well, maybe not surprised, it's X, Twitter, so I shouldn't be surprised on any response. But I was surprised by the amount of people that their response was, well, Mahomes is not in his prime. Mahomes isn't in his prime anymore.
That's crazy.
One was even Mahomes is well past his prime.
Are we sure these weren't Bills fans or anything?
I'm not sure which fans they were, but I feel like we look at somebody like Mahomes because he was so good so early and burst onto the scene and won an MVP. He's gone to the 6 Super Bowls and 7 straight AFC championship games. And he's not putting up the numbers that he did when he won MVP 2 years ago. And somehow now he's past his prime. He's a quarterback in the NFL that has not turned 30 yet and is still playing at a high level because his down year is what a lot of quarterbacks would strive to be in his down year. So, Matt, is Patrick Mahomes still in his prime for the Chiefs right now?
I'm trying to think about other quarterbacks who have a quote-unquote down year, which also coincided a year in which they did not have a left tackle.
Yeah, they had a guard playing left tackle and made it to the Super Bowl.
And even then, the guard only played like 4 games at left tackle. So, even then it was... And
he played one of the best games of his entire career in the AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl.
Didn't have the 2 biggest receivers that you were counting on having the entire season. So, yeah, I kind of feel like if you make the Super Bowl under those circumstances, that you are probably still a quarterback in your prime, because a lot of quarterbacks in that situation, and then I think Hall of Fame quarterbacks in that situation, wouldn't have even made the playoffs. So, yeah, I think you kind of, if you think Mahomes is out of his prime, I think you're just being a little greedy.
Yeah, I don't like. He's a quarterback in the NFL, not a tennis player, competing as a 29 or 30-year-old. It's like, well, he's past his prime because the prime is 20 to 24. Like a baseball player, well, maybe the peak year is 27, but okay, so peak year versus prime. Well, I definitely think Bobby Witt's in his prime, or maybe you can argue Bobby Witt hasn't hit his prime yet. Like if you're
That's
saying,
what I would say.
Is somebody not in their prime? Well, yeah, okay, you're right. Somebody's not in the prime. Bobby Witt's not there yet.
When I saw your tweet, and then you told me that people were coming at you, I'm like, oh, are they coming at you because they're arguing that Bobby's not in his prime yet? Because that's what I would assume.
Not that Patrick Mahomes is past his prime. Like it is, you're right. Greedy is a great way to describe it. If he's past his prime, the guy in the game against the Bills had 11 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like he's not a guy that it's like, well, Patrick isn't running it anymore. He's not able to escape the pocket anymore. Well, Patrick doesn't have that dynamic playmaking ability. Well, you know what? Patrick is just strictly a pocket quarterback now. Like none of that is the case with Patrick Mahomes. And, I didn't respond to many, I think like one. And it was just the hits and the ankle injuries. I do believe will catch up to him because Father Time is undefeated. They will catch up to him.
But he's not Dan
It's just
Marino
not right now.
yet. No,
It's just not right now.
Not even close to like Dan Marino being statuesque or anything.
This is not happening right now. It will catch up to him one day. Those ankles are going to be an issue if they continue to go through injuries every year. But it's not right now. As a 29-year-old, that will turn 30 this year. Granted, I get it. He's turning 30 in September, so they'll play a couple of games before he's 30 years old. So this is his 30-year-old season, but he's squarely in his prime of playing football.
Yeah, I mean, squarely in his prime. Or if you're saying he's not in his prime any longer, and the dude, remember, just finished 6th in the MVP voting. Then his prime is just significantly better than a lot of other guys' primes.
Yeah,
so
maybe the greatest prime we've ever seen.
You're saying that at his prime, he's still better than probably 99% of other quarterbacks in NFL history.
Because if you're saying, like, well, he's past his prime because, he didn't get to 4,000 yards passing. He only had 26 touchdowns.
Did he need to?
In 2018,
he went 15-2.
Right. In 2018, he had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns.
Because he had to.
2022, he had 5,300 yards and 41 touchdowns.
I mean, I'll gladly admit to people and tell you that Patrick Mahomes is probably never going to have another season like he did in 2018. Because he is never going to have a season where he has to score a touchdown every single drive. Because he's probably never going to have another team that's going to be surrendering points like that. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, he had a higher rating and QBR this year than he did in 2023 when they beat the 49ers, coming off his MVP season of 2022 when he had the 5,000 yards and 41 touchdowns. 310 yards per game is what Mahomes averaged that year, which was pretty absurd. Okay, so I think we're all in agreement.
Also had career highs with 5 fourth-quarter comebacks and 7 game-winning drives last year. Career highs. So
yeah, but he had to have the comeback, so therefore he's past his prime. So if his prime, he didn't have those.
Most prime
comebacks.
quarterbacks don't have comebacks. So
it's true.
I mean, most quarterbacks past their prime.
Yes.
Their fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives would be 0.
That's right. Matt Derrick is our guest. 41 is the mic.
How many of those did Aaron Rodgers have last year?
Not many. Not many. How many is he going to have this year?
That dude past his prime.
I'm going to guess not many as well.
I'm going to go with that as well.
And by the way, the schedule makers, as we talked about when the schedule came out, that they were banking on Rodgers being a Steeler because they had the Steelers and Jets playing Week 1. They made the correct bet, and Steelers and Jets play Week 1, and Aaron Rodgers is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's talk about something that we didn't discuss because there was so much talk about tush-push and whether the seeding in the NFL would be switched to just record as opposed to division winners getting a home game and things like that. Roger Goodell, in meeting with the media, said that, in the CBA, they're going to take a closer look at the, quote, integrity of the cap and these, quote, dummy years, otherwise known as void years, that happen with the salary cap. There are, I saw this graphic yesterday when I was looking up and wanting to talk about this with you. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 teams that have double-digit players currently on their roster that have void years connected to a contract in some way, shape, or form. The Saints have the most with 21. 21 players that are under contract for the Saints have void years. Eagles have 20.
I knew the Eagles would be in the top 3.
Browns at 19, because that makes sense. You void those years so you can go and win all those games. Bills with 18. 49ers 17, Dolphins 12, Broncos 11, Texans 9, Minnesota Vikings 9, Jets 9, Ravens and Bucks 8, Jags 7, and on down the line until the Chiefs at 1. Chargers, Bears, Raiders, Patriots, Giants, and Steelers with 0. So the Chiefs have 1 player, and that's Mahomes, that had a void year added to the end of his contract in like 2034 or something like that. I don't even know when it is. It's the last year of his it's after the last years of his contract. I am really fascinated by, is the NFL presenting this to the NFLPA early so they can use it as a bargaining chip to get something else and say, okay, we won't deal with the void years. We'll allow the void years to still be on the salary cap in the CBA. Or is this really something that Roger Goodell and the owners, you think, want to attack? Because this will this will limit money for NFL players. To me, this will lower what salaries are, because if you're saying, okay, we're not going to be able to extend some of the signing bonuses further down the line, your cap number is going to have to be $40 million this year and not $10 million. Or you're signing that guy to $50 million contract. It's not $10 million for the next 5 years split. You're going to have to take 40 of that this year. That's going to deflate money for players of what owners are willing to pay. And I can't see the NFLPA being okay with that. So what do you have an idea of what Roger Goodell's issue is with this? Or the owner's issue is with the, quote, dummy years or void years that are added onto these contracts to manipulate the cap?
Well, kind of like what you mentioned. I mean, I think that the more challenging issue, I think, with the void years and what it's become is that the teams that are using them, I mean, like you said, it's generally used to be able to spread cap hits around, move money around, and I mean, and Mahomes' contract wasn't built like that. I mean, it wasn't. His is still an outlier. I mean, nobody else has the rolling guarantees that Mahomes has and everything like that. And honestly, I mean, I think that that's a contract structure that a lot of teams probably should be using because, and I understand there might be some players who don't like it, but I mean, it basically, I mean, Mahomes, by and large, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's basically what Mahomes has is a contract that guarantees him $30, $40, $50 million, however, whatever it is on an average. But now it's like closer to a 3-year, $150 million extension every single year is basically what he's getting. And, even though he doesn't have like a 10-year guaranteed contract, I mean, he's got, he is guaranteed to the point every single year where it's like, he's not going anywhere for 2 years. I mean, it's like, Chiefs
every third day of the league year, it's like, his
so
2027 contract is now fully guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, they're
salary.
so baked into keeping him for 2 more years, and by the time that it's those 2 years are up, he's already baked in for two more years. So, I mean, there's some genius in that to protect Mahomes. But no, I think the main thing that I get that probably Goodell is trying to go for is that, like you said, I mean, not every team is doing it, and a big reason why is that not every team has the money and the resources to for guaranteed contracts. Whenever there's guaranteed money, especially in the future, you have to put a portion of that into escrow. I mean, with the salary cap and the ceiling and the floor, there's really no. I mean, there's no. The only thing you can really change, by and large, the value of the money to the players is allow players to get money early and get it earlier rather than So if you've got. I mean, look at the Eagles. I mean, basically, there's been some seasons where they're paying their players $350 million versus a $270 million cap. And so the players on their team are essentially getting $80 million early.
Jason Kelsey is $16 million against the cap for the Eagles this year.
They're getting it now instead of 4 years from now. And if
the Eagles are paying it later.
And if it's hitting their cap later, but the player's getting the money earlier.
Right.
But it's also requiring the owners to lay out more money earlier. And that's where I think that Goodell wants to kind of nip it in the bud, because he's seeing teams like the Eagles that really benefit from it. I mean, the Saints have just used it to keep themselves out of cap HE double hockey sticks. It hasn't worked for them, but they've been just managed to kick the can down the curb by using them.
Constantly every year they are just next year.
But the Cincinnati Bengals, the Raiders, I mean, there's going to be teams that don't have either the wherewithal or the willingness to take those kind of hits and to say, hey, you know what, we're going to spend $350 million versus a $270 million cap hit because they don't have the extra $80 million to throw into this. And on top of that, if you make those decisions poorly, they can really backfire on you. And then now you're not competitive. I mean, I feel like that's one of the really interesting thing that came out that was, I should have retweeted this because then I wouldn't remember who did it. It might have been, I don't think it was Warren Sharp, but it was somebody else. It was someone that broke down the value of drafts over like the last 10 years and which teams had drafted the best and
I saw that too. I can't remember what the
and either one or two was the Cleveland Browns. It was like they've drafted extremely well. They've got an incredibly a great productivity from their drafts. The problem is that they gave $250 million to a quarterback that they have gotten zero production from.
And guaranteed.
They spent an entire year's salary cap, guaranteed money on a player that has given them zero production and has just absolutely undermined everything else that they do. So I think it's the other thing that, that Goodell wants to make it is that, one, he wants to level the playing field for all 32 teams. So it's not just, what'd you say, 9 teams that have?
So, 9 teams that have double
digits. Okay, then that means there's 22 teams that are not really embracing this. So you've got 2/3 of the league that basically wants nothing to do with it or doesn't have the financial ability to do anything with it. And they may not, if they had the wherewithal and they do have it, maybe they don't manage it correctly. Because, again, some of those teams that you're talking about, they've just made the poor decisions. And the Browns are
Browns have 19 players that have void years on their contract.
And they've had to do that largely, by and large, to just get around the Deshaun Watson nonsense. And,
But the Eagles, for instance, it's like, well, the Eagles are so smart because they're putting all of these void years, and so they're able to get these guys under contract and they can go for it, which is great. That's fine. But they have 16, 32, 42, 51. They have $52 million of their cap hit this year. $52 million of their cap hit. That's almost 20%. Almost 20% of their entire cap is going to Jason Kelce, Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, and Darius Slay. They will not play a down for them this year. It's a fifth of their cap is going to 4 players that will not play a down for them this year. Now, they got 2 Super Bowls in 3 years that they went to, and they won a Super Bowl. So in their mind, worth it. That's fine. And we'll recover from this because we have other guys that have void years down the road, so they are cheaper this year because we're paying for the void years on this year's salary cap. And then next year, the same and the same and the same. They're also willing to give more money up front, so it can be a 3-year contract with 2 void years, so we can spread that over 5 years. And we can give that money up front and spread it over 5 years with 2 void years, as opposed to it's a 3-year deal and we got to give all that money in 3 years, so it's a larger salary cap hit for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and for the Eagles, I mean, all of this eventually comes to roost.
Yeah, and again,
Saints.
1/5 of the Eagles' entire salary cap in 2025 is going to 4 players that will not play for them.
Well, in 2030, for instance, right now, looking at this over the cap numbers, they have A.J. Brown at age 33 with a $53 million cost in dead money. And Saquon Barkley with $18.8 million, and he'll also be 33 that year. So you got 2 guys who are 33 who will have, $71 million in dead cap money. Okay, now the cap might be $350 million, so maybe the dead cap is not going to catch up with him as much. But that's also going to be $71 million they're not putting on the field.
Yeah, that's how Saquon Barkley is a $6.6 million cap hit this year.
Yeah.
Is because in 2030 he's a $20 million cap hit.
And they've got, and all their other guys are like that too. I mean, I think that's the latest that they have a cap hit that's dead money in the future. But Jalen Hurts has got some dead money that's going to hit that. I mean, all those guys that they have, all those 20
of the 51 players that they have on contracts are void years.
Will all have dead money that hit between now and 2030, and that's a lot of money. Like I said, as the cap goes up, I mean, maybe that's going to account for all of it, but at the same time, it's going to keep them from spending money. I mean, they are.
Yeah, they have $78 million of dead cap this year.
And that's why, I mean, I still think that the Chiefs are in better shape than a lot of other teams because with the way that they have done their deals, I mean, they have put, a lot of money in Patrick Mahomes, and when Patrick Mahomes, the bill comes due, I mean, there's going to be a rough year, maybe a couple of rough years at the very end. I mean, they're going to continue to kick the money down the curb, and I would absolutely do that because whatever you get from Patrick Mahomes, it's worth it if you've got 1 or 2 years at the end of it where you got to be crummy.
Yeah.
Although, then again, if you draft really well and you get a great quarterback to replace Mahomes and you're paying him cheap, then the cap hit that you get on Mahomes at the end won't matter because if you got and now by then maybe – because at the rate we're going right now, and this is the other thing that Goodell should be worried about, is that now we're getting back to where everything was 15 years ago, where even though you've got the slots for the draft picks, now all the agents are getting it guaranteed. So now all the first-round draft picks are guaranteed. Now the agents are trying to get all the second-round contracts guaranteed. By 2030, you might have every single freaking draft pick contract guaranteed. And it may be worse than that. It might be that you've got to guarantee undrafted guys to get them signed. I mean, right now, the Chiefs, they had some guys that they had to pay $250,000 guaranteed to get them to sign.
The Chiefs this year have $13 million in dead cap this year. The Eagles in 2026 have $42 million in dead cap. That's next year. They already have $42 million in dead cap for next year. The Chiefs have 13 this year. The Eagles are sitting at almost $80 million this year, so a quarter of their entire salary cap is dead cap this year for the Eagles. But they've kicked it down the road so that next year already there's dead cap, and there'll be more for next year so that the 2026 cap is workable with the players they have, so they will have smaller cap hits. The bill is going to come due eventually. Like the Chiefs are taking their medicine on Juwan Taylor this year. Chiefs had to take their medicine on Chris Jones a couple of years ago. And it was like a $28, $29 million cap hit. And it was like, well, you got to take your medicine on this one because that's going to come due eventually. And Juwan Taylor, since this is the last year, they did not restructure his deal because this is the last year. They signed him to the 4-year deal. This is the take your medicine year with Juwan Taylor and have your $26, $27 million cap hit and then move on from him.
That's why the Saints are constantly negative 60 in the cap and have to do all this gymnastics to keep pushing that can from back when the Breeze years down the road when they paid Taysom Hill, what was it, 4 years, 100, and all of it was void.
Yeah. It just, you've got guys that are worth it that, okay, well, you know what, they gave Mahomes a couple of void years. All right, yeah, worth it. If that's the way that you're going to get it done, then hey, that's fine. It's worth it. But in 2023, Chris Jones had a $27 million cap hit. 2022, he had a $29 million cap hit. It was like, you got to take your medicine at some point with that. Well, he's got a $23 million cap hit this year, 23.6. Well, next year that goes to 45. So they got to figure something else out with Chris Jones, and they can't just cut him because the dead cap is going to be more than what his cap number is. So then, by signing him to the contract you did, you're probably going to keep him through 2027 at least. So then can you disperse that down the line and take the 44 and, well, you already got a $38 million for 27. So you're getting into that realm with the Chiefs with Chris Jones by signing him. That's going to come due. Juwan Taylor's cap hit this year, they just simply are going to have to eat it. You can't lower that and kick some more money down the road next year because that's a bigger dead cap hit for Juwan Taylor that you're going to have to take when you hopefully have Jalen Moore and Josh Simmons as your tackles, next year as you walk on and move on from Juwan Taylor. I wonder if this is something where the NFL owners are okay with, or they want this to help help control themselves. Like we need somebody to help me because I can't control. We're just writing these checks. Okay. So keep us in line by this. Or if Roger Goodell's setting the stage for, we're going to act like something is a very big deal to us and we will give that in a bargaining chip so we get something else we really want in the CBA.
Oh, the NFL owners and Goodell, and that's one of his best characteristics.
Oldest play in the playbook.
Yeah.
Over the years has been to create issues that they don't care about in order for them to give in to the players and say, yeah, we won't push for that.
Drug testing for the 17th game.
But
that's real.
Exactly.
They changed that for
exactly.
the 17th game.
And the NFLPA is, bless their hearts, they've been one of the worst negotiating organizations in the world. You can put their heads in the toilet and they say, please, sir, may I have another? It's just... the NFLPA compared to what Major League Baseball gets...
The Umpires Association.
NBA and
the NFLPA compared to the Major League Baseball Umpires Union.
Yeah, the MLB... eventually that gravy train's going to run out because they're going to get replaced by robots.
Yeah.
It's just... I feel bad for the players because, the union has just completely abandoned them on many, many occasions. But again, it comes back to, the reason why has Major League Baseball been more successful than the NFL? Because, and Major League Baseball players have not been afraid to walk away. And now you've got baseball where the point where, I don't think Major League Baseball could ever weather another long-term labor dispute. I mean, it's just like you lose that audience one more time and you're not getting any of it back. Yeah. And the NFL players have never been willing to, not since '87 have the NFL players been willing to say, we're going to go without checks. And remember what happened in '87? They caved.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty quickly. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. The Show Me Sports Investment Act has passed the Senate at 2 a.m. on Wednesday night / Thursday morning. Heads back to the House, even though it passed the House, but, getting all these things approved. And we'll see Governor Kehoe then will sign off on it. And it is the most aggressive offer put forth to the Chiefs and the Royals to match or come close to, or maybe even in some estimations, I think so too, in a better offer than what Kansas can offer with the Star Bonds. Just because it's more money in Star Bonds doesn't mean it's as good as the offer of 50% of here's the money, 50%. You don't need to sell these Star Bonds to get 50%. It's there. So we'll talk a little bit about that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. as well is Mick Schaefer, KSHP 41 sports director.
I watch 41 as the mic sometimes podcast. I watch it happen sometimes.
I watch it. Or
I know when
listen
Nick
to it.
is gone doing it. Basically, I'm like, oh, they're doing that, and I'm gonna subscribe.
Yeah, I watch or listen. Sort of depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes it'll be watching. Sometimes it'll be just listening to the podcast. You know.
If you're aware of the spider, then you're a hardcore fan. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't know the spider. Yeah, of course. The spider, yeah, like the insect thing, yeah, that you guys do.
It's got 8
See it all
legs.
the time. See
8
it all the
legs.
time.
8
Yeah,
legs.
duh.
8
Duh,
legs.
yeah, spider.
Yep. 8 of them. You know.
Yeah, Spider-Man. That's what we call these guys. They're Spider-Man.
Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland Cavaliers, Spider.
This is how we can now, weed out the 41 is the micers from the pretenders.
So
there you go.
They are your 92 percenters.
Ooh,
right?
the Spiders.
The Spiders.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be a great nickname for
The Spiders.
For
the
our
fans.
92
The
percenters.
Spiders. Yeah.
I like. Oh, I'm stealing that. Thank you.
I think that's the
No
greatest thing
problem.
since
Have
sliced
at it.
bread. Did you know Chillicothe is where they sliced bread for the first time?
Our friend Nick Jacobs.
Yes.
His entire family is from
I know.
Chillicothe.
Well, I had mentioned.
And yes, I knew that.
I had mentioned that Chillicothe yesterday won their first baseball state championship by beating a team from Springfield. That
They beat Benton, or who'd they beat?
Logan Rogersville.
Just outside
They're
Springfield.
not in Springfield. Yeah, okay.
They're in Greene
Gotcha. Yeah.
County.
Yeah.
But like Rogersville being a place where Matt Derrick apparently his all of his kin
My
are
family-
from
my family
kin.
lived in
You're
Rogersville
from-
this was
when I
this
you're
was a
from,
Nick
you're from
Jacobs.
Springfield, Ozarks. It's kin.
This is Nick Jacobs v. Matt Derrick.
A little bit,
basically,
yeah. That's why I brought it up.
Kind of. I mean,
And so Chillicothe winning it, and then reminding us that it's sliced bread. So I said, winning state championship is the best thing since sliced bread for
It's
Chillicothe.
the best thing since Chillicothe.
Yeah, since
I
sliced
had a
bread.
sandwich today. It was the best thing I'd had since Chillicothe.
There you go.
There you go.
You
And
did.
by the way, on that highway, Highway 36, right? Was it Highway of Heroes, they call it?
exactly.
Every single town has a gigantic, major, famous person from it or some sort of event that
Really?
happened there. Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
That's
There's
cool.
astronauts from there. Walt
It's a
Disney's
historical-
from there.
It's a historical
J.C.
drive.
Penney is on that highway, from that highway.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is Macy from that.
Penny's so big because it's
Mr.
in
Dillard?
It's in Hamilton, and it's not Hamilton High School. It is Penny High School.
All right, Hamilton.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a very historic drive.
All
It's
the
a
way from the
scenic
west side of
historic-
Missouri to
Highway of Heroes. You got
the
it.
east side,
about
and then
that?
it ends with Mark Twain in Hannibal.
There we go. All right. Mark
These are all-
Twain and Hannibal, or Mark Twain in Hannibal, because Hannibal also
Or, sorry,
could be.
It was not Mark Twain from Hannibal. It was Samuel Clemens from
Yes.
Hannibal.
But it sounded like you said and Hannibal. Mark Twain and Hannibal.
He's so
which
big.
is a
He's-
very,
Lecter?
very famous figure from O'Fallon. People don't realize that Hannibal was originally from O'Fallon.
A lot of great
So-
stuff that happened on Highway 36.
People did not realize that at the time. And then, of course, Staley and Blue Spring South playing today against the St. Louis side. So we got two KC St. Louis matchups today. We need an all KC final. All right. We need to just disperse with the St. Louis stuff.
Agreed.
All right. Royals took care of St. Louis, taking 2 of 3. We need Staley and Blue Spring South to take care of St. Louis today, and then tomorrow play for a state championship with the Kansas
Who are you
City
going to cheer
teams.
for then? Northland or Eastern Jack?
Here's the thing.
Northland or Eastern Jack?
If one or the other wins, then I will certainly be rooting for them over the St. Louis team. But
I know who you're going with. You're going with Staley.
I do go
because
back to
Blue
the whole
Springs has
Lee
a
Summit
huge
North
rivalry.
Blue Spring
Yes,
South
yeah,
thing.
I knew that.
We weren't,
Exactly.
weren't big fans of Blue Spring South back in the day. Sorry, Jags. But if Staley loses and Blue Spring South wins, then I'll be rooting for Blue Spring South over Fort Zumwalt.
It's big of you. Right
So
there.
exactly,
You've
Thank
grown.
you.
You've matured.
100%.
So much more.
100%.
than sophomore Jason.
I have
Anderson.
graduated.
You
I have.
have.
They say never graduate. I have graduated onto. I'll only root against you if it's another Kansas City team.
I've got a KU Jayhawk shirt on right
About
here.
that.
You haven't said a word about it.
Folds
Could
of
you?
honor.
You've yeah, exactly.
Because it's in honor of
More
a very
heroes.
historic day.
That's right.
You know, the bravest, the greatest generation, bravest men in our country's history. You know,
Agreed.
on this day.
And actually, a lot of their fathers too for World War I.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
We've gone downhill since.
yeah.
I'm not impressed by the Folds of Honor thing. I will still talk slowly to make sure you understand all the big words.
Okay,
Because you got a KU
Yes,
shirt.
You
That's
got
what
a
he's
KU
saying.
shirt on.
That's what he's saying. It's a KU shirt.
He was not distracted by the folds. Fun.
No,
Pushed right through it.
there's stars and everything.
Respect the troops, but
Yeah, but it's a mythical creature. So
Thank
I
you-
mean,
thank
it's
you for
just-
your service,
The
but
bird isn't even real.
the bird.
If Sterling
exactly.
was here, he would turn his shirt inside out, right here in front of everybody,
Yeah,
and it would take about 5 to 10 minutes.
I'll go tarps off.
We'll go tarps off, boys.
We'll go dude,
tarps off, boys.
to the dome. I'll go tarps off to the dome if you want me to.
Dude,
I'll do it.
I've been ripping this shirt today.
You think he's playing golf somewhere today?
Yes, with bourbon in one hand, he's swinging a club with the other.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
Think?
smart.
Come on.
I should say, where is he playing golf today?
There you go.
You know, where is he playing golf? Because I asked him yesterday. He was off yesterday and today. He was in St. Louis, and he went to the Cardinals game, the Royals Cardinals game, and he was
Did you go to both or the?
That's why I texted him. I said, "Hey, you've got a gift now."
It was a day night.
Yeah. Are you going to go to both games? He's like, "No, we got a golf outing tomorrow during the day." And I'm like, "You can go." I said, "You can golf anytime."
Game got over at like 9:30 or something like that.
Look, the Mother Nature gave you a gift. You can golf whenever. Mother Nature gave you a gift of a double shot of Jack. You're already there. You can go to both games. It wasn't a double. You were going to go to one night game. That's it. Now you can go to 2 games, Royals Cardinals, because Mother Nature said, "Here's a gift," and you looked a gift horse in the mouth.
They were not a gift horse. Yeah.
Yeah, or a giraffe.
I've been listening.
You didn't look at a giraffe. You didn't look at that gift giraffe in the
Matt
mouth.
and I are comparing apples and apples. You throw the giraffe, which is like an orange or something like that. We have 3/4 of the word gift is gift.
Exactly.
Right? And he was like, giraffe. Yes, there are other words that begin with G, begin with J.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Yeah, Jerome with a G. Anyway,
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what
it's a soft G. You know?
Give. Or is it Jiv?
It's Jiv. You got
It's
to
Jiv.
Jiv this holiday season.
No, anyway.
Season
so
of jiving.
could he, did they let, no way, they cleared everybody out, right? You
had
to have
both.
2 tickets, yeah.
You had to go to both, but still, you could have gone to both. You know, look.
And he had a golf outing today is the deal?
Yesterday. So he had a golf
He missed
outing. Missed the first game.
Oh, he missed Jack's hit?
Yeah. Right, and he went last night to see Jack strike out a lot, but he was, you know what, he played golf, though, which he never gets to do.
Yeah.
Never.
He never gets to play golf. He always goes to Royals-Cardinals games at Busch in St. Louis. Always goes to those. Never gets to play golf.
I want to meet Sterling's 10 best friends to see if are they all Sterlings, or do they, like, roll their eyes and give him much crap as we do?
It's a great question, man. Are they all Sterlings? What do we think? I think it's going to pass the House. I mean, we'll see. Politics are crazy. The Show Me Sports Investment Act passed the House overwhelmingly. The Senate didn't even discuss it. Well, they debated it, then they filibustered, so then it didn't even come up for a vote. And now they've got the special session. It's been passed in the Senate. Next week, it'll go back to the House. And in perfect politics, it might just get voted down in the House after they overwhelmingly already approved it. So I'm assuming it'll be approved in the House, and Governor Kehoe will sign off on it. And they will have something in front of the Royals and Chiefs to compete with the Star Bonds that expire at the end of this month. $1.15 billion is the number now.
For a renovated Arrowhead?
For a renovated Arrowhead. I don't think that's just inflation. I think that's going to be other things that they are doing to Arrowhead.
Yeah, it's not just an activation area for $1.15 billion.
No, I'm going to think there's other things that they left out of that rendering because certain things may not have been passed yet, like, you know, gaming in the state. But do we think this is viable, that the Chiefs actually, for the first time since a year and a couple of months, so 14 months, that they've got something in front of them that they legitimately could stay on the Missouri side, as opposed to what's felt like the Star Bonds are there, 70%, $3 billion. They've got all that land. They're going to Kansas.
I mean, I'm not as optimistic as you are that the House is going to pass it because the Missouri House is just about one of the squirreliest.
It's politics, you know. You never know.
Governing bodies right now that there is, and there's portions of this package that they didn't like before. They added the sports package to it because with the infrastructure and all the capital spending, and then there's the whole Jackson County property tax fixes that got excluded. So I don't know what's going to happen. It sounds like the House is going to meet on Monday and Tuesday, and then consider all of this on Wednesday. So we should have a resolution. But yeah, no, I mean, this should be legitimately able to give the Chiefs a hard choice. I mean, and now they've got 3 options. They've got renovating Arrowhead, building new in Missouri, or building new in Kansas. I don't really see the building new in Missouri option unless you're building something new at the sports complex.
No.
And I don't really see building new at the sports complex because I don't think that's going to, I mean, build it and they will come. Didn't work last time. I don't think it's going to work there again.
Because if you're building at the sports complex, you're going to have to build where Kaufman is, and the Royals are going to have to be out of that for you to tear it down. And by the time you tear it down and start building,
You have to move to Sacramento for 2 years.
Playing at 2030, that's going to be past 2030 to wait for the Royals to leave and then build there where the Royals are.
They can go play at Kansas for a year or something. So.
they can do that.
Swap.
You know what?
Swap it out.
No, flip it out. They'll play at Sporting.
They'll play at Sporting
they'll
too.
Play at Sporting.
Wow.
Play a game there.
Be a pricey ticket.
Oh my God, it's $10,000 a ticket. Well, there's only a few number of people that can get in there. But luckily it's outdoors, so it's all good. Because you'd hate to have a retractable
maybe
roof.
Aaron Rodgers will be quarterbacking Jacksonville then, and that'll be the game you can put at Sporting.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
You wouldn't know because he wouldn't commit to the Jags until like September 4th.
At that time, yes.
At that point.
We'll see. I do love everybody's like, really? Aaron Rodgers, you've got Trump and Elon, and this is the day you decide, you know what? Bleep that. It's got to be about me. NBA Finals tonight, Trump and Elon. I'm signing with the Steelers, everybody. I've made my decision finally. I've come to the conclusion after all of this thought. You know what? I'm going to sign with the Steelers. It's about me, everybody. Make sure we talk about me. And everybody's like, yeah, read the room, Aaron. Yeah. We're good. We're good. We've moved on, man. We've got other things going on.
I've been on a boat for the past 7 days.
How about that?
And I did not pay for the internet package. I was down in the Gulf of America.
Well, did you see Stephon Diggs there?
He was not on my boat.
Okay.
I saw some people that I knew, crazy. But then I didn't have the internet package. So my son, of course, we had to get it for him.
Yeah.
When Jack got called up, there it is. And
Right.
then we
Makes
watched
sense.
first game. And then the Rodgers thing was the only thing I've heard. You guys are talking about this stuff about the house and the spending bill. I'm like, wow, this is new information. Everybody listening knows more than me about
so
this.
Cool. Chillicothe won the state championship in baseball.
And then
Blue Springs South and Staley play today.
And then yesterday, after getting through traffic in Houston, which takes an hour and a half, and Dallas, which takes 2 hours, basically, we're home free. And then we hit Oklahoma City, and we're like, not only is it College World Series softball, but also Game 1 traffic.
Did you stop in and hang out with the Mahomes while you were there?
I did not. They were there?
Yeah, they went to the Texas Tech and Texas game.
Oh, my gosh.
Last
That
night.
took forever. Didn't help that Oklahoma City used to be the biggest city in the country, like land-wise. Not anymore, but it's still pretty big, so it takes a while to get through there.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it was the sports hub of America last night.
Wichita, Humphrey. Nothing was going on in Wichita.
You're good. Right? I
Cleared
mean,
through
you're
there
perfectly
pretty
fine.
quick.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour coming up next. All right, wrap it up this hour. Matt, thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for letting me hang out with Mick Schaefer.
We got so much accomplished today, you know?
I originally was going to be gone.
I know.
And then I was here.
And now you're here.
Yeah, I needed to get away from the family. Been on a boat with them for 7 days. Okay.
I get it, man. I've never taken a cruise before. I mean, we cruised Nolan all the time back in the day, but I've never been on a boat
We
cruise.
had pros and cons about just like going to an all-inclusive resort. They were
Yeah.
pretty even. There's things that are better, things that aren't. So, yeah.
I've been to the all-inclusive resorts. I've been to those, but never been to the cruise, you know? So maybe one day. Probably be, let's be honest, it'd probably be like a Disney cruise or something like that.
Probably.
For the kids. That's
Yeah, bring the kids, they said. That'll be fun, they
Did
said.
you guys go on vacation? No, we took a trip with the
We
kids.
took a trip. Yeah.
We took a trip. The kids went on vacation, though.
The kids went on vacation.
Thank you, Matt. Ryan Tracy next. What are you doing, man? Ryan Tracy, welcome into the show, brother. How are you?
I'm keeping up. Hope you're doing well.
We are doing just fine. We're doing well here, and OTAs coming and going another week. We got mini camp mandatory, and then a full break before we get to training camp and things like that. Your takeaway from, let's say, this latest OTA, because I feel like the two bigger stories that came out of it was Josh Simmons in the team portion and Rashee Rice looking like Rashee Rice. As you assess those, which one do you find to maybe be on June 6th a little bit more important of a story?
More important, I would say, is Rashee Rice, because that timeline has specifically been accelerated to the point where you can see it not affecting his regular season. I felt there was a possibility that that could drag out a bit, that maybe the first games 1 through 4 might be certainly a pitch count or maybe a lack of participation, but just looking at him move and shift his weight and be able to cut off of that leg, I'm very impressed with not only his rehab, but what the team's been able to check off of their boxes to allow him to get back out there at this point.
Did we not fully maybe at the time there were conversations about it, but we couldn't really know until you watch it happen. But looking back, do we see that the loss of Rashee Rice, even for a team that went to the Super Bowl, was more impactful than maybe we thought at the time, even with a guy who was leading the league or second in the league in like receptions and yards, that had such a detrimental effect on what the offense was going to do the rest of the year? Could we fully appreciate it in real time of Rashee Rice's absence impacting this team?
I think probably not. And it is difficult to do that when your solution to not having Rashee Rice happens to be a Hall of Fame caliber player in DeAndre Hopkins. That covers that Band-Aid pretty well and makes it blend in. And I think while expectations were not met for what Hopkins' impact in the offense last year could be, I do think that it was significant enough to distract from the fact that maybe specifically in the volume of tight games that you had, Rashee Rice would have made a bigger impact, shall we say. And very specifically, when it comes down to getting out physicaled in a Super Bowl, it caught you completely off guard. His physical presence at the wide receiver spot would have made a difference, knowing that that's what it comes down to in some of those bigger games when everybody's competitive. And you're not talking about regular season cellar dwellers. You're talking about the other team that has done the best job in the last 18 weeks to get to that point.
And they didn't have something like we talked about the running game being lackluster throughout the season, and it was to the point to where it's like, wow, Kareem Hunt, look what he's doing in this running game. And it's like, he looks average, but that's how bad the running game has been at times, is that, he's finding a way to pick up short yardage. So therefore it's like viewed as like extremely successful. And Travis Kelce was, much older last year than he looked a couple of years ago. And Xavier Worthy was coming along. And Juju Smith-Schuster and DeAndre Hopkins weren't exactly Rashee Rice. That I feel like losing that impact from Rashee Rice as an extension of the running game of, hey, Rashee, throw the ball to him quickly. He picks up 7 or 8 yards. Quick slant, 7 or 8 yards. Yards after catch, 15 yards in open space. That just can do so much for the offense that they missed, that they tried to get with Juju or Hopkins at times, but not really to the level that they had with Rice. And Xavier Worthy wasn't that physical player, and Travis Kelce just, had lost a step. And without the running game, like, that was such an important factor. And it felt like for the first time last year, we saw the offense and we saw the impact when it didn't happen. The offense switched to, actually, Rashee Rice is the guy outside of Mahomes that's stirring the drink. And it's not Kelce or Tyreek at certain times. It's now somebody not named Tyreek or Travis. It's Rashee Rice. And that drink didn't get stirred very well the rest of the season, even as they went to the Super Bowl. And now if he's back, if Worthy, Hollywood, healthy, things like that, and the chemistry that's being built, you could see sort of a resurgence of this offense if you add that element back in.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head there. And even more to that point is, not only were you without Rice, so you've taken away, if you're a boxer, maybe your best counter, your guy that can get things done when you're struggling elsewhere. But then on top of it, losing Hollywood, who was going to be maybe your jab. So you've lost 2/3 of your weaponry, and now it comes down to either Hail Marys with the rookie or what you had hoped to be a more lightly covered Travis Kelce has to now carry your bigger load. So I would say not only Rice, but having the 1-2 punch taken from them in Hollywood's absence as well, I think really derailed what the plan had been. And having them both back now, I believe Travis Kelce looks like he's going to come in better shape. I think that will help as well. It feels like they've just hit the reset button on what their original plan was in 2024, but now they've got an upgraded third in Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, and an upgraded third in Worthy, what looks to be in better shape Travis Kelce. So if this is the final run, then it looks like certainly it's going to be taken a little more serious than, the dad bod jokes and things like that. But also adding in the element that's been missing for a couple of years. We talk about Rashee Rice gone, extension of the run game. Well, the run game also was struggling for a good portion of the season. And it was like, you had Hunt, you had Pacheco coming back from injury, you had Pirine, you had Steele. But who did you have that was your Kareem Hunt 2018 or your Damian Williams or your Jerick McKinnon? You just didn't have that. So if you have a healthy Rashee Rice and Hollywood, Xavier Worthy having to step up and be a number one last year, maybe a newly motivated Travis Kelce for one more year, and Elijah Mitchell and Brashard Smith, you're adding a number of different, as you mentioned, punches and counters to your attack as a boxer than what was really maybe turning into just sort of being a defensive boxer and just trying to outpoint the competition and dodge so you're staying up for 12 rounds.
Agreed. It's like having a left hook in your back pocket nobody knows about, in particular in the running back, because I think what has gone under the radar is just, and not a slight to Samaje Perine, but just how different the backfield looked without Jet McKinnon in it, because you didn't have anybody that could accelerate and take advantages of gaps. You didn't have anybody that was that elite pass-catching threat out of the backfield. And you have to hope that both Mitchell and Smith, or in combination of the two, you're going to get at least a good bit of that back, which I think, especially as the pressure element comes into this offensive line and the exploration that they're going through right now, I think that is something that will then alleviate some of the problems that we saw last year.
Visiting with Ryan Tracy, RGR. Let's talk about the defensive side. And Steve Spagnuolo was asked about the cornerback position and Trent McDuffie and if he's going to be sliding inside. And certainly Spags is always glowing when he talks about McDuffie in the slot and the things he can do with them and how he plays. And I would certainly like to see that if Fulton and Jalen Watson can be healthy and hold their own on the outside. But the safety position, because Jaden Hicks was viewed as like, he shouldn't have been there in the fourth round and was a much better safety than that and played well, had the 3 interceptions. Brian Cook, we'll see what he looks like the year after the injury, and Shamari Connor, what they end up doing with him. Will they, or how much will they miss Justin Reed there in the back portion of that secondary?
I think the initial goings will have their miscommunications. I don't think there's any way to avoid that. But by the break for the bye week, I think they will largely have that sorted out. We have to remember that all of these players, in particular, the 2 guys that we feel are probably going to play the split high looks the most in Cook and Hicks, both come from situations in college where they were primary communicators. And that's what becomes the difference maker at this level. Good athletes are good athletes, but if they can communicate and work together, that makes it a good secondary. And I think that while there were some growing pains for Cook last year, I do believe he's adapting to playing deeper, because originally he and Jaden Hicks were from the same mold. They were within 8 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage most of the time. So there's an adaptation going on there. I think the big thing for me is that I want to see them get back to where they can roll into what I used to call a gotcha alignment, where Tyrann Mathieu would move into that robber role and have space to work with, because I think that's what Shamari Connor takes advantage of the best. And if you have both Hicks and Cook high above you, I feel like that allows him to do some things that could lead to taking the ball away from other offenses a lot more often this season, which I think would be the turning point to allow the pass rush to succeed more and for these games to not be down to the wire in 2 and 3 point increments.
I'm glad you went there. Ryan Tracy, RGR Football, is our guest. I'm glad you went there because part of me wanting to see McDuffie in the slot is to have Shamari Connor deployed in different ways with Spags, and B, if it's that robber position, or if you're in a dime or a nickel and Shamari Connor comes down to play in the box next to Nick Bolton, or it's Drew Tranquil and Connor that can help out with the run but also can cover, since he was essentially a slot corner last year, covering in the nickel package inside. I want to see Shamari Connor utilized that way because it feels like that's what he's best at. It's best at him using him in different ways as opposed to you're going to guard this slot receiver, we're going to put you here, or we're going to put you deep. He just feels like he's a ball hawk, and maybe not to the level of Tyrann Mathieu, but I'd love to see what Spags could do if you feel good about your outside corners and McDuffie at the slot, of how he can utilize and deploy Shamari Connor in different ways.
Absolutely. And I'll say that the key to being able to accomplish that, and I don't know if that's their goal or they're truly exploring what they feel will be best for his role this season, but they have a safety blanket. And I think as a rookie, he got exposed at some times, but I am a believer in Chris Rowland-Wallace as a backup nickel. And if you do that, which you allow Trent to stay outside, and you have CRW that can come in and man that slot receiver, get in his face whenever possible, and allow Connor to roam, I think that's the best combination of all worlds myself for the long term for this season.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm hoping that Fulton and Watson will look just fine, because I think McDuffie is so good in the slot. It's so much fun to watch him disguising the blitzes. He loves to come up and stop the run. Like, he's not afraid of doing that. And we know how good he is as a slot corner. Obviously, he's a really good outside corner as well. What he did last year against Jamar Chase early on in the season is not easy to do. Not many cornerbacks can do that with Jamar Chase. But still, I mean, that would be my preference if that was the case. And Cook and Hicks, and we'll see what they do with Shamari Connor. Ryan Tracy is our guest, RGR Football. As we look at the offensive line, because I mentioned, Rashee Rice or Josh Simmons, the development there of seeing those guys at practice, the bigger story. And I agree with you being Rashee Rice because of, him and his importance to the offense. And if Josh Simmons can't go, they did sign Jalen Moore for a reason. What do you make of Kingsley Suamataia? Do you think it'll be an easy transition that, well, he didn't succeed at tackle, so put him at guard, he'll be fine. Tackles slide down to guard and they're fine all the time. If you're failing at tackle, put him at guard. If you can't play catcher, put him at first base. It's fine. They'll figure it out. It's no big deal. Will the transition be like that for Kingsley? Are you confident that he can man that position, or is there a chance we might be talking about Caliendo there playing that position, because Andy Reid did mention that Caliendo's in that competition for left guard too?
I am not supremely, but just short of that, confident in Kingsley Suamata's ability to move inside.
Okay.
I still think he has potential at left tackle. I do believe that the process he went through last year, amongst all the other changes in the offense that we already spoke about, which allowed fewer outlets for Mahomes, which required him to hold the ball a little bit longer, which puts more pressure on a rookie left tackle. I think it was just a difficult transition for him as a rookie. Now, Simmons, I had much higher on my board than Suamataia at the same position. So now that you have him in-house, I don't know that there's a reason to try to force him back out to left. But I do think Kingsley could eventually be part of the solution at right if they choose to do that at the tackle position. But I will say this, he has a couple of things going for him that making the transition to possibly replace a future Hall of Famer in Joe Thuney are, I think, going to make him very, very amenable to doing that. And a couple of them are the fact that he is so young and relatively inexperienced. So everything right now can be soaked in as a sponge.
Yeah, true.
And I do believe at his age, he came into the league very, very young. That should help him learn and adapt as well. And at the bottom line, he's the most athletic guard on this roster right now. He can move. And if you're talking about trying to reinvigorate the run game, get the screen game running yet again, having him as an athlete at left guard, I think is something that allows Andy Reid to kind of spread his wings back out again. And I think Kingsley can do that in spades, especially with his reach. The athleticism is in his back pocket, and I think will help him succeed.
Yeah, I hear Andy Heck on Wednesday. He's talking, and he said that I think he compared him to LDT. And it's like, hey, I'll settle out of court right now for LDT. I mean, obviously everybody would do that right now because that was a damn fine guard for the Chiefs, and we have no idea what left guard's going to look like outside of Kingsley and Caliendo and maybe Norzad in the mix. So I think everybody would take that. But I do like at least hearing the name of, you sort of compare him to what we saw in the development of Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, which, to a degree came out of nowhere and was a guy that got a contract extension, as a guard in the NFL and played just fine. And eventually they make the transition to Trey Smith. But if that's the name for the next 3 or 4 years that Kingsley's just playing that spot, then yeah, sign me up. I'll take it right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I think, no offense to Laurent, I believe Kingsley has more athletic upside and a higher ceiling.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I would the athletic upside. I'm with you on that one because Kingsley. Just thinking about what Kingsley and Josh Simmons athletically could be on the left side. I understand why the Chiefs are wanting it to look like that because Andy Reid's thinking about some screens and some outside zones, some things like that with those two guys on the left side.
Absolutely. It could be very, very fruitful in a season or two.
Yeah. Ryan Tracy, RGR Football, is our guest. One more before we let you go. The return game is something that we'll be talking about because last year we didn't know who was going to be the returner, both kickoff and also in punt return. And Dave Tobe mentioned yesterday that, it was going to be Worthy as the punt returner until Rashee Rice got injured. And my response to that was, no, it wasn't because there were 3 games with Rashee Rice healthy and Worthy had 0 punt returns. So it was Mecole Hardman returning punts. I'm not sure we'll see Worthy returning punts, but kickoffs, is it, punts, is it Remigio? Kickoffs, Brashard Smith. Is Smith both of them in your mind? Who do you think we see and maybe has the inside track to be the returner for this team? Because it certainly sounds like kickoffs are going to be a lot more important in terms of the return game now that touchback is up to the 35.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I think the guy who has the inside track would be Nico Remigio. But I will say the person to watch is Smith because he has a natural ability. It depends on how quickly he can translate that to the NFL game. Now, if you're going to come in as a rookie and you're I call them hybrids as a positive note rather than a tweener as a negative note.
Okay, yeah.
And I would call him a hybrid in the running back wide receiver groupings, much the opposite of the way that Tyreek Hill made his transition when he first came into the league. But what did Tyreek do so well when he was still learning the ins and outs of his new position? He was able to get the ball in his hands on a kick or a punt and use his athleticism to make something happen. I do think that is potential that Smith has. It's just whether he transitions to this level of competition quickly enough to unseat Remigio. But I think both of them are very good candidates. And if it turns into a season-long battle, I think the Chiefs are the better for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ryan Tracy, RGR Football. Ryan, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother. Always enjoying the stuff, the work, the content you put out. Keep doing that, man. Keep killing it, and we'll catch up down the road, brother.
I appreciate you having me. Have a good one.
Absolutely, you too. There's Ryan Tracy, RGR Football. If you don't follow him, I'm not sure what you're doing, but great stuff from him and the YouTube channel, the Locked On the Chiefs, all of the different content that he puts out with Chiefs conversations and good stuff from him. Ryan Tracy, RGR, and Locked On Chiefs. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, heading up until 2 o'clock on this Friday edition. NBA Game 1 had some great drama to it. The ending there, the Pacers doing the Pacers thing. The College World Series, Texas Tech evening the series at 1-1. Game 3 coming up tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well and many other things that we can get into and discuss as we wrap up this Friday with the Royals getting ready for the Chicago White Sox for 3 before returning home with the Yankees and Cags' home debut on Tuesday. But the Royals have an opportunity to finish off this road trip there with the White Sox and maybe get all 3. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. More Zone coming up next. Thank you to Ryan Tracy, RGR Football, Mick Schaefer hanging out with us here on this Friday. Mick, who do you have in the College World Series on the men's side? Who do you think is going to win it?
I think the team that...
I want to just ask Mick questions that have happened in the last
it's the
week.
hottest team, what everybody's been saying. I'm going to stay on that bandwagon. They are
right.
that team. They hit homers. They pitch well,
They do.
they have been hitting well. I love their uniforms, too.
They are cool. You're right about that. Mick on his
not
cruise
Oklahoma State
has not paid much attention to sports, which is great because that's the best. When we went to Disney World a couple of years ago, just 6 days of totally unplugged. and actually acknowledging my family exists. That was odd, you know. Turns out I liked hanging out with them for a little bit. That was weird.
For a little bit.
Yeah, it was weird. Then I got back to reality. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I actually enjoy more. But for that time, it was great. Then you get back and like, oh my God, what has happened? Like, I don't know anything that has happened. Right now, currently, North Carolina is leading Arizona 13-2 in the first game of the Super Regionals. And then that's on ESPN2. And then later today, it's Miami and Louisville, Florida State, Oregon State, and then Coastal Carolina and Auburn after Coastal Carolina ousted Florida after Florida's coach was caught on camera berating the Coastal Carolina associate AD and the groundskeeper for moving the game back an hour. So Coastal Carolina then takes care of Florida, which is nice.
That's fine.
So you want to do that.
Caglione is gone, so we don't have to pretend to like Florida anymore.
Right, and the coach has a reputation for being an AH, so that reputation happened, and it was on video, which, by the way, in today's day and age, you really think there's going to be a cursing expletive at somebody
Was he
in
on the
public?
field?
He was right off the field in like the concourse area almost, but it was like amongst like people walking and everything, you know. Now, the games weren't being played, but there were people there just walking around, and he's just going at it. Like,
so it's phone video.
People. It's phone video, multiple phone videos. It's like, did you not think that was it's 2025? Did you not know that people would have it on video?
So he was upset it got moved back an hour?
Yeah, that the NCAA did that to give East Carolina a little more time because they had wrapped up like midnight or something the night before. So they decided to move it back an hour the next day. Florida, the coach said they were not told, so they got to the field and they were not notified that it was moved back. So Coastal Carolina being the host of the regional, the coach for Florida decided that it was Coastal Carolina's fault that they were not notified. So he decided to go at the associate AD and grounds crew for some reason because it's, I guess, anybody that was within distance of shrapnel was also going to get the
So it wasn't
wrath.
an issue of it rained overnight or something like that?
No,
or
you just let it.
I have a hard time believing that nobody was notified on the Florida side.
I got a hard time believing that too. That they just showed up for a game that was going to start an hour earlier, and because I bet ESPN updated the game time. NCAA.com might have updated the game time for the scores, you know, of when that thing's going to be a first pitch. You know, I would guess that. But apparently the reputation for him is that this is pretty much right in line with what you would expect. And by the way, shout out to the Coastal Carolina head coach who went on his rant after the game, after his press conference was over, and said, I got to address this. That guy disrespected our associate AD. That guy disrespected our grounds crew. They are salt of the earth people, our grounds crew that does anything. You're going to disrespect them. And this is a guy that you won a national championship. People look up to you. It's not okay, man. It's not okay for you to be disrespected. Like, hell yeah.
That's awesome.
That guy got himself an extension there at Coastal Carolina. How much money would you like? What are the dollars? Here you go. Just fill in. Do you need another comma there since you may go to the College World Series at Coastal Carolina? You're hosting the regionals now. You know, what do you think with that? Or they're heading to Auburn, actually. I think Auburn's hosting the Super Regionals. They hosted the regional last week, but Auburn. But I'll be rooting for Coastal Carolina because I'm not rooting for Auburn. Why would I root for Auburn?
It's almost like rooting for Florida.
I mean, right? It's
well,
close.
No. You are in the SEC, so you kind of have to root for all of them.
Well,
that's part of the deal. I have one favorite team. Let me do the math now. And 15 second favorite teams.
100%.
That's how it works.
I'm like every NFL fan. I've got my favorite team, and then whoever the Chiefs are playing. I've got two favorite teams. Yeah. I was accused of that by saying that the foul disparity was rough on the national championship game. And it was, oh, you SEC. I'm like, well, that would kind of go against me talking about how I want Kelvin Sampson and Houston to win. It kind of go against me saying for the last week.
Maybe you didn't see that tweet. Okay, maybe they didn't hear those words.
I'm rooting for Houston to win because I want to see Kelvin Sampson get a championship, so it's not like everything SEC. And, yeah, I'm not going to root for Auburn. What does that do for Missouri in the SEC? It does nothing because, you know, Missouri can't win SEC games anyway, you know, because they didn't hire Vitello. I don't want to get back into that.
Good, because
I don't want to talk
again.
about
I don't
that.
know what you're talking about.
I don't want to talk about it. Well, that happened a couple of years ago.
Can we do a topic that's happened in the last few
A few years ago? Halliburton hit a game winner.
I saw the highlights
against the Bucks.
And then
I mean the Cavs.
That was at the Cavs.
Did you see the one against the Knicks?
That was a good one too.
Yeah,
that went in twice.
Yeah, and then the Thunder. So. That was cool. You
Did
drove
he do,
through Oklahoma
Did he
City.
do the choke thing to the Thunder people or no? Is that just in New York?
Who's the Spike Lee of Oklahoma City?
Who would that even be?
It's Sylvester Stallone. He's a Tulsa King. I know that's a different city, but close maybe.
Who's the
Maybe
most
they root for
famous
Oklahoma City if you're in
actor,
Tulsa.
I wonder from
the most famous person from Oklahoma City. I think we need to find that out now.
There's got to be some. Well, I mean, they've got to have their Paul Rudds or Rob Riggles.
No.
Nobody outside of Kansas City in the area really knows that Jason Sudeikis is from Kansas City or cares, right? They have to have those types.
Let's see.
Does Ron Howard from Duncan, Oklahoma?
Yeah, that's right. That's where my mom's from.
Curtis says
same hometown.
Barry Trammell is the Spike Lee.
Barry Trammell.
It's the Spike Lee of Oklahoma City. That's great. Olivia Munn is she?
Yeah,
from?
Olivia Munn's from. She went to OU.
Well, she's from Tulsa.
Yeah.
So, no, she.
I watched
interned at a
her
news station in Tulsa.
season finale last night of Friends and Neighbors.
Bill Hader's from Tulsa.
Bill Hader is?
Yeah.
I never knew
I
that.
mean, this is place of birth.
Yeah,
so.
Olivia Munn, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
She's born in Oklahoma City. There you go.
How
Dr.
about Bill Self? He was
Dr.
doing it to
Phil.
Bill Self. He was from Edmond.
Oh my God, he was doing that to Bill Self.
Why,
Halliburton,
Dr. Phil's from
because
here,
of
right?
the Iowa State KU connection. Iowa State KU.
hang on.
Halliburton turned to Bill Self, said, Choke, I don't need Hilton Magic to do this. I'll do this anywhere, anytime, any place. I see Bill Self, and I hit shots.
Chuck Norris.
Oh,
there you go.
there it is. I wouldn't do that to Chuck Norris.
Nope. Chuck Norris actually from 15 feet away would strangle you.
Well,
This is actually the surprising one, too, that he hasn't been there is Garth Brooks.
Oh, that's
Because whenever a chance to make it about him.
That's a good point. Chuck Norris's mind would actually make Halliburton strangle himself. So
Chuck Norris doesn't sleep. He waits.
That's right. Yeah, that's there's no doubt about that. Yeah, so there we go. So Chuck Norris would be the Spike Lee.
And none of
the
these people
Thunder.
are from Oklahoma City. I'm reading off like Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
Ralph Ellison? But
Olivia
he's way
Munn.
old
Olivia
and
Munn is from Oklahoma City though. So there is at least one. What if he was doing the choke? What if he did the choke sign to Olivia Munn last night? Like, take that, Aaron Rodgers' ex-girlfriend. You broke up the Rodgers family.
What's his name? His current wife, right?
Oh, she married?
Yeah, Mulaney, right? John Mulaney, the comedian.
That's right. Yes.
Well done, John Mulaney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's score one for the funny guys, because Colin Jost still married to Scarlett Johansson.
No kidding. Yeah. Although Colin Jost and Johansson seem like closer in terms of like looks, maybe.
He's a weird. He looks like kind of like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
Does he?
A little bit.
Looks like Beavis.
See his gums a lot. So, and then who else? Well, what's his name? Dates everybody. A Kardashian. From SNL, all tatted up, dude.
Oh yeah, Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, who's not funny to me whatsoever, but he's funny to some people.
Shane Gillis has a couple of lookers.
I'm sure
apparently,
he does.
You know, in Austin, it's probably doing pretty well.
Funny's coming back.
Probably doing pretty well.
And
in
I got
Austin,
rid of funny
you
a
know?
long time ago. Once I got my looks.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes. So the only reason I was funny is because I was ugly.
Can't have both.
Yeah, and looks and personality, double threat guy. You know, once you got so good looking, there's no reason to be funny anymore. And anybody listening to the show will say, I can vouch for that, Jason. You must be really good
You must
looking.
be hot.
Because the jokes are not hitting anymore. And if you think they're not hitting now, you should have heard me in junior high. Because boy, oh boy, with this nose and those ears, killing them. Just fish in a barrel with the jokes. I'll tell you what, man. Who you got in the College World Series on the women's side, though? Texas Tech or Texas?
Sure, I'll do Texas Tech. Of course.
course.
Nobody's cheering against Texas. Nobody's
I know,
cheering
right?
for Texas.
That's what I
Come
told
on.
my son on Wednesday night. He's like,
Nobody
who
cheers for Texas. It's
He's
like cheering for like the Yankees
Auburn.
or Microsoft or Walmart. Yeah, no, it's just like we're cheering. We're cheering for Texas Tech. Mahomes' alma mater, and local girl pitches for him.
That's right.
Kennedy
Kennedy.
from Topeka. I covered her in high school. She was just as
amazing.
dominant, obviously, in high school as she is now at the college level.
$1 million for a softball player is worth every penny for Texas Tech because they had never won a Big 12 championship, and now they're one game away from a national championship, winning the World Series after she took Stanford to the College World Series last couple of years, and then $1 million. And you know what? Use the big guns. She's a huge Chiefs fan, so Patrick Mahomes recruits her. Mahomes is calling her during the recruiting process to go to Texas Tech. Yeah. I mean, $1 million is pretty good, but $1 million and Patrick Mahomes maybe delivering the check is pretty cool as well.
You could make the case for, outside of quarterback, that there is no other more important position in any sport than pitcher on a softball team.
That's a great point.
'Cause you're throwing 90% of those pitches, right?
Yeah, she's thrown every single pitch for Texas Tech in the College World Series.
The only time she doesn't need to pitch is like midweek game or whatever. Let's
Yeah.
give somebody else a try.
Give her a rest.
You're out there. You're the quarterback pretty much the entire time. So if you're going to make a case for somebody, getting the money, give it to the pitcher for the softball, the number one pitcher.
Yeah, every single pitch that she's thrown for Texas Tech, and she'll go back to the mound again tonight, or the
bump.
Well, no, is that just the circle? She'll go
Circle.
back to the. She'll go back to
There's
the
no
circle
mound.
today.
Good call.
She'll go back to the rubber. She'll toe the rubber. She'll go back to the circle today and go another 7 innings for Texas Tech.
And pitching on the Olympic field in 2028, by the way.
Yeah.
That's dumb to me.
Yeah, well.
That's stupid. But good for Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out down there, like Ron Howard and Olivia Munn. They're going to be really happy.
Barry Trammell.
Barry Trammell, absolutely.
Pretty
Reba
huge.
McEntire.
Chuck
Reba,
Norris,
yes.
Chuck
Carrie
Norris,
Underwood.
Carrie,
Blake
Garth,
Shelton.
Garth.
Brooke.
They're all pumped about this,
Chris Gaines and Garth.
Both of them love it.
Yep.
They both love it.
Sylvester in Tulsa, he's the king there. So, I liked that one as well. It's a good show. It's a good show. It's a good class. You should check it out. It's pretty good. Shout out to last night's game for the Royals. Angel Zerpa, Steven Cruz, and Carlos Estevez. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 9
strikeouts.
9 times. How many times did the Cardinals strike out to the relievers for the Royals? 9
I feel like
times.
it was about 7 times in the last 3 innings. I mean, it was like every out.
This is going to work. This is going to work. No, he said not 8, right? Oh, he stopped at 7? Damn it.
We need the
stupid
principal
strikeout.
from Ferris
Yeah,
Bueller.
we were Ferris Bueller. 9 times. 9 times.
Yeah, that was necessary because they threw away game 1 yesterday.
They did kind of toss that one away. That was unfortunate. I said earlier in the show that I think we should appreciate and we can invoke the name that, yes, growing up, he was a godlike figure with his athleticism in Bo Jackson and was, my idol and had the Bo pictures, even with the Raiders, gear on.
She had the black and blue.
Black and blue, had that one. So I had all of those. And then I had the backs by popular demand with Christian Okoye and Harvey Williams and Barry Word. Had that one. Had the Nigerian Nightmare with Christian Okoye. Had all of these different posters.
Yeah, Nicole Eggert from
100%.
Charles in Charge.
Yep. Yeah. I had. Yep. And then of course, Bo Jackson. And I said earlier in the show that I feel like, maybe because of the nostalgia and the younger selves of watching it, that we're not willing to do this. But I think the Royals have somebody in a Royals uniform doing Bo Jackson things for the first time since Bo Jackson. Like these plays Bobby Witt are making, if Bo Jackson didn't run up the wall or throw out Harold Reynolds, or let me say this, if Bo Jackson ran up the wall now or threw out Harold Reynolds now, or some of those diving catches in the outfield now, but Bobby played in the late 80s and 90s and did these things, it would be hush with the Bo and the defense. Yeah. Chill, because that's Bobby. I'm not sure you're going to bring up that name when we're talking about some of the greatest highlight athleticism plays we've ever seen out at the K. But that's what we're watching right now. We're watching defensively at shortstop, Bo Jackson make some of these plays that he's doing with the sliding catches. The diving catch yesterday, it was Superman. He was fully in the air. It wasn't a catch and then a dive, because we see that all the time. You're running, you catch it, and then you fall like, oh, it's kind of a dive. He was fully parallel with the ground before the ball got into his glove and made the catch. It's brilliance.
He was so parallel to the ground that a Chiefs receiver was ready to drop the ball in the end zone of a Super Bowl.
I believe that was a running back, though, on that particular play.
There were 2 of them, right? I couldn't remember which.
Tyreek was drive one.
McKinnon, was it? Was it?
It was Williams.
Williams, yeah.
It was one of the Williams. It was Daryl. It was Daryl. It was my other brother, Daryl. My brother, Daryl. Tyreek was drive 1 that he dropped the ball in the end zone. Daryl Williams was on the sprawled out.
That's how sprawled out he was.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I took a pic. I posted the graphic that my nephew's wife put out there, and reposted it. And it was of Mahomes and Bobby Witt.
What is that, a niece-in-law?
I think so, probably, yeah. But it was of Mahomes and Bobby Witt. And I said, it's amazing that these two guys we get to watch in their prime right now in Kansas City. And oddly enough, the biggest pushback was Mahomes isn't in his prime anymore.
Mahomes you guys were talking about that
Mahomes
earlier.
is not in his prime. I'm like, you know what? Redefine prime, buddy. Yeah, that's he's absolutely in his prime. He's 29 years old.
He lost his Super Bowl, so he's not in his prime.
He will play 2 games this year before there's with a 3 in his the first number in his age. He's going to be 29 years old the first 2 weeks of the season.
He's been to 3 straight Super Bowls.
He's 2
and
years removed
lost
from
one of them, 1-2.
Like,
but the most recent one was a loss, so that it's going to be he's over the hill.
Yep, he's not. Not only is he not on the backside of his prime, he's just not even in his prime anymore. You know, I can understand if you'd say, "Well, he's never good." He plateaued in terms of numbers for a year.
I would argue if there's
one
one
of them,
not
going to have 5,050 touchdowns. Okay, I agreed.
Yeah, I hate
Stipulated.
that. He's probably not, is he?
Stipulated, fine, whatever.
Although Manning put one of those together, and Brady late in their careers, almost like they figured it out. Like, okay, this year I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I would argue if one of those two isn't in their prime, it's Bobby Witt.
That's what Matt and I were saying.
Yeah.
Like, if there was going to be a pushback of prime, you might have had somebody say, Bobby's not there yet. Okay, let's hold off on Bobby in his prime and stop invoking the name of Bo. All right. Look, I agree.
Yeah.
Stop invoking the name of Bo if you're talking about Kyler Murray. I agree with that. But if we're talking about defensive plays, superstardom in the field at Kauffman Stadium, I think Bobby's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that, prime is a wide swath, right? If you're going to play, say, 12 years, you're going to have 8 to 9 of them in your prime. First couple, last couple. Usually it's kind of how it works, right?
Yep.
You don't prime it, then drop off and do another prime. You do one prime, figure out where it is. For quarterbacks who play for a long time, it's usually about 80% of your playing career.
You're wasting if you're going to prime, paint, and then prime again, and then paint. You're wasting your time. Prime and paint. You know, sand it, whatever you need to do. Texturize it, prime it, paint it. Get it done, man. Move on. Seriously. Cuts next.
hanging over your head. Months of June and July. Nope. I don't know what you do. Maybe you do. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, you know what, this summer, I'd like to have a groin hanging over my head. Okay, go ahead.
I guess it all would depend on whose groin's hanging over my head.
Cole Reagan's.
No, we don't want that hanging over our head.
I'm talking about one very specific groin. Okay.
No.
But I
Get that out of the
don't
way.
like to speak for other people. So.
Yeah, there's probably people out there with Cole Reagan's groin
Probably.
hanging over their head.
Probably. I don't know.
I like that you don't want a groin hanging over your head. I didn't think he did that on purpose in the beginning, but he heard it right then. Like, well, all right, well, let's talk. Let's get into it here. McKinstry has started at shortstop, second base, third base, left field, and right field. Baez has started at
No, boy.
He did that most of his career. Yeah, he did.
He did that there?
Oh, that's right. And then I said he's done that most of his career. Yeah, that's the most recent part of his career. Yeah. Whew, I forgot that I said that. Yeah, well, that happens.
French fries. It's not going to be there.
It is not there.
If you can't win a food category.
Hey, we haven't won this game yet,
What are we
Petro.
doing here?
Watch your mouth.
Shut up.
Keep rolling.
My grin is so eating right now.
Well, okay. Wow, how about that? You could have just said bleep eating.
Bleep eating.
Yeah. Well,
Shoot, did I say it?
I-
Did you jump that?
absolutely said it.
Then he
Yeah.
goes, say it.
Shoot.
Right.
Thanks.
Then he goes, shoot.
He legit. That wasn't like trying to play it up. Like he legit didn't realize.
Had
he
like a
said it.
wind up and
Sure about that?
everything.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. There's some times where I'll call Sterling out on things, but I'm looking at him right in his face, and he was just like, "What? Like, did I actually say?" I'm like, "Yes, you said it, dude."
Maybe he thought it's like one big word, and it was just part of the word, and it's not that word, like Shih Tzu. It's like a
shiitake
dog.
mushrooms.
Like, yes,
you know,
shiitake
something like
mushrooms.
that. Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
It's actually hyphenated, I think, or two words.
Could have said bleep eating, but whatever.
A guy off the street to come in and play left tackle for you. So yeah, I mean, you're going to throw as many numbers at that as you possibly can, and I mean, I'm surprised they haven't thrown another number at it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, if they signed another veteran to come in. I mean,
great, let's do it.
Pelicans said they're willing to trade Zion, so you know.
I mean, you're at least at
that guy. Woof. Zion at left tackle. He's athletic, though.
Let's go.
He get out and run. You know what I mean?
300-pounder that can move, man.
Absolutely, dude. He sets screens. He could play. He could block for a screen. He sets screens. He can do a lot of things there. It translates basketball and football. Everybody knows this.
Shecky, two-finger Magoo, or whatever, whatever deformity.
Was that his name?
You know how it was back then. Everybody was like, "Oh,
Yeah, I know. I just want to hear you say Shecky Two Finger Magoo."
Shecky, two-finger Magoo."
Oh, yeah,
guy dominated the 1880s for the Red Stockings. He did.
Which two fingers did Two Finger Magoo have?
I believe his index finger and his pinky. I don't know how it worked.
The other three are in Passett's fridge.
Yeah.
Kyle, sniper. Kyle is the sniper, man. I'm telling you, he comes through, and Adam leaves, and Kyle just stepped right in that spot to just come from the top rope from time
He's
to
a
time.
better Adam, is what I heard you say there.
I'm just saying he's filled that role of Adam would snipe, and you wouldn't know it, and you wouldn't expect it. Like you wouldn't see it coming, right? Kyle,
Like his Dion Toes comment, that one.
Yes.
That was a good one.
That was pretty good, yes. But, they have the running joke of Jeff Passan having dead bodies in his freezer. And so that going along with that running joke of the other three fingers are in Passan's freezer. So yeah, which Passan is totally fine with, by the way. So it kind of makes me wonder, does he actually have dead bodies in his freezer if he's okay with it? You
I
know
feel
what
if you got offended by it, then he definitely
It's a good point.
would, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
So
Or
the day he does, time to start investigating.
Hiding in plain sight. Ha, 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 I've got dead bodies in my freezer. Nobody's going to believe it because I'm breaking news for ESPN. Come on, people.
You're right. I've changed my mind. Let's go over there.
What's the best way? You know who? You
Him
know
and
what?
Garth Brooks. Where are the bodies, guys?
You know what somebody who had dead bodies in their freezer would say? I don't have dead bodies in my freezer. That's what they would say. But if you had them there, you'd be like, oh, you guys are saying that? That's so funny. Ha, ha, ha. Whatever. I'm not even going to deny it. I've got it. Go look. I dare you to look.
Just get close. You could smell it. That's what happened with Dahmer.
Typically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
smell it.
typically. Yeah. You got a carcass, Done that before. So.
Nobody smells good dead.
No. It's tough.
The show, maybe.